the people who love it do every day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Like, check it out.
All right, we're streaming now. Tim, it's on you. You should introduce.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Wolfpack.
It's not good enough to watch.
God help your soul.
God help us all.
What are you doing?
I don't think people watch or listen to these things because they're well done.
Yeah.
Like they just like grab onto certain personalities and I wish I was friends with that person.
I think that's for shit.
Friends with that person.
They pick someone to have a crush
Yeah,
on.
We also don't tell
that's
anybody.
what Ryan,
that
that's
we're
what
doing
Ryan
it.
said.
Yeah, who is it that they have a crush on?
Who?
The fans of this show.
Oh yeah, well that.
The fans of this show.
That's what they have to figure out for themselves.
They're watching to figure out who,
That's
who they have a crush
That's the most interesting aspect of the show. Is like
By
you
far.
have like a crush on
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then they watch another week and the person says something and they're like, it's over.
Yeah,
Now I
not
have to pick
crushing
another
on
I
this.
totally disagree with that theory.
Oh, speaking of which, I totally disagree with that theory that you sent around.
Oh, which one?
Oh fuck! I forgot to read that.
Oh, I only read the one of the one that's talking about Father Inire manifesting in different hypostases.
Oh, that's what I wanted to
throughout
ask people. Well, I just thought it was an interesting thing, and I was like, I never would have.
I feel like it's stretching too far. I dig what he's saying about the autarch, and then he was talking about Tzaddikiel appearing as different people, but that's a totally different thing. Like
It
the
is.
autarch is sneaking around.
It is totally different.
Tzaddikiel exists at all point in time, so we're just seeing his entire life cycle at once.
Yeah.
And then they just list all the mysterious people and say, well, so could it just be that these are all different Father Inires? And I think that's just a stretch.
The one I was actually most interested in was Dorcas's husband.
Mm-hmm.
The boatman.
What's that?
The boatman.
The boatman
That's the idea.
in the Lake of Birds.
He's Father Inire.
as Father Inire, and
Oh.
hence he would be Severian's grandfather. And then it was like, why is his name like Father Inire?
Oh, right. Which I don't like that.
I like reading all of the weird shit.
Oh yeah, I love reading. And everybody says you should read Borsky because even though he's wrong, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
It gets so weird on there, on those threads.
Yeah. But no, if that dude was Father Inire, he wouldn't have to spend years paddling around the Lake of Birds looking for his wife. He would just bring her back to fucking
does
life.
he though?
Yes.
She's saying he's lying.
I mean, who knows?
What?
She's saying
He's a master of
Could be a
deception.
lie. I don't
But he
think
knows
that he
Hildegard.
is.
Yeah, I mean,
But he knows Hildegard.
the fact
who's
of him being up
therapist
in there
and-
often doesn't mean
Right,
that
that's
he's
true.
doing what
That's
he says
true.
he's doing.
It just feels like a stretch to me.
Like
But so if we're operating on that level, then everything in the entire book we can be like, well, that
Yeah.
didn't really happen, or
Why not?
this person is actually this person. Yeah, you're right. Why not?
I mean, a lot weirder shit goes on.
Or just that the whole thing is a drama playing out in front of Severian with the same characters just playing on him the whole time, kind of like that movie,
Right.
like The Game or something.
And I think
the
there is an
Truman
element
Show, like everything is just playing on constantly.
I mean, the autarch is doing that.
Yeah.
So to me, Father Inire is a far more powerful a character than the autarch. So why would he not be doing that? Or I guess maybe he doesn't have to.
Well, and it comes through a different vector. Like, Father Inire is more powerful than the autarch, but the autarch has some sort of, but in a different way.
Right.
Like the autarch is in charge of all of Earth.
Right.
Father Inire is a lieutenant to something that's even bigger, kind of, right? Tzadkiel. Which I've actually gone back and did I was reading when he was meeting Agia. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the autarch manipulates Severian's life through actually showing up in agents provocateur and subterfuge. But Tzaddikiel, and therefore Father Inire, he's always showing up through
I really like how you're melding the word tzatziki with Tzadkiel.
Tzaddikiel.
owned.
Really amusing.
Anyway!
I can't let it happen again without remarking.
It's funny how you're wrong and dumb.
So Tzatziki only exists through fate and through like you can see in Agia's shadow Zadkiel lurking there. There's a whole section talking about it like that.
In the scene in Earth?
No, in here, in when he meets her in the rag shop. There's a thing about, like, in her shadow he can see an angel, and basically describes the thing that he sees in the book that we now know is Zadkiel.
Interesting.
I'm gonna read that.
And, like, that's how Father Anir, and, like, when he meets, what's her name, the Kamayan later on, like, these strange supernal things are the way that those people act. I don't think that Father Anir needs to take on disguises and appear as other people, because Father Anir is part of the being that is all people, more so.
I think it's really funny that the like Gene Wolfe theorists, all like that, are the most laughable or whatever, the ones that we can discard, are people who like have the very problem that I feel like Gene Wolfe was trying to confront, which is like being obsessed with literalism. That like Gene Wolfe's trying to talk about how like symbols are really more powerful than we give them credit for, and like run the show. And then you have ardent fans of this book who are like, and he's him in a disguise.
Right.
They're like trying to make all of the mystery into a literal like I found out whose mom is whose.
Right.
Yeah.
When, and to a certain extent, and I think this is why there's a play enacted in the story, is that like to a certain extent these are always all fictional characters that like represent a type of thing that comes in your life. And when you're an individual going through life, like somebody doesn't have to be somebody's mom or clone for them to hold the same position in your mind.
Yeah.
Like you meet, and I think we get all this messy stuff about love in the chapters we just read, because Wolfe is kind of like crawling towards that realization through relationships, like love relationships.
Yeah.
Is that like these women are different women, but as far as like my personal experience, like they occupy similar roles, or like someone follows someone else and continues what happens. Like that's from a person's point of view what does happen.
Totally. And I mean, like, yeah, they're reduced to archetypes in the play, and then they're also, you can see it in the, I think it's the first chapter that we read today, where the Isignoma Jungle Hut chapter.
Is that where we started? The jungle?
I think that was the first thing we read today, where the Tokoloshi. And
Is he saying that right?
Tokoloshi, yeah. Did I
No,
pronounce
I
that
just
word
like
right?
it wasn't a pronunciation thing. It was the fact that it was half tzatziki, half Zadkiel. It wasn't like that wasn't like a pronunciation quibble. That was just that's fucking
I thought it was
hilarious.
Duncan on the Goy.
But anyways.
No, I can do that. I leave those.
Duncan on the goal.
I leave those be as much as possible.
No, you should. This is
I-
a safe place for that.
Yeah, no, we can be as pedantic and know-it-all as we want to.
I mean,
It's not like that's introducing a new element to the rhetoric.
the tzatziki thing is just fucking funny to me.
But yeah, when they're in the hut, Robert and you know Isignoma is like saying, "Oh, they're the Tokoloshi. I see these fairies," and Robert's like, "I think that he is seeing these things, but they're not his Tokoloshi. They're ours. I see Death and the Lady." And so like those two characters are reduced to archetypes in that moment. Like that's totally the story.
I didn't really do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the thing with the shadow that you were just talking about. I can't
I'll
find
find
it
it.
anywhere.
While you're looking, Ryan, I definitely vibe with what you're saying. I mean, in general, when I'm reading the book, I'm not really trying to decode like a puzzle as if there are answers. I never get the impression that there's specific answers to a lot of this stuff. I feel like it's all wrapped up. It's just a game, and that's what's kind of
Well, if there were,
fun
then
about
it would all just be.
right.
There would
Like,
be one web
we
page
would have
with
figured
all the answers
we would have
on
figured it out by
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
It
exactly.
would be like, I mean, I guess Lost is not a good example. But I feel like,
Yeah,
I feel like Lost is the literalist person's attempt to do it.
Yeah, and Lost, they really,
Oh.
I think they did try to have the most literal answers they could to every question.
Yeah, which is
The TV show Lost?
Yes.
Yeah.
which is like such an amazing way to do
stupid.
an abstract, mysterious show. Like,
Yeah. Whereas this does have like the mysterious elements of like a religious text, which I think, Wolfe is kind of inspired by.
and I think like somebody can be a mother to Severian without being his literal mother. you know, like that can be a fine place to leave it. That like, in, you know, from the experience of Severian, like this person did take a mother's place, or this idea of mother was like started with this person and moved on to this person and kept going.
All right, I think I found
Just like a real man, baby. Everybody's your mom.
I think
Everybody's your mommy.
I think I found this section that I was talking about. I think.
Where is it?
110. Oh wait, but this isn't it, because it was something about when he's looking at her shadow. This is after the Yamar section.
Was Robert Graves really a missionary?
Yeah, apparently.
Like converting people to Christianity?
I guess.
That's normally what missionaries do.
Yeah.
Well, they also like build huts and stuff.
And they have the boring sex.
Famously.
Were they so known for their sexual style that that's where it came from? The missionary style. Like, that's the way all the missionaries
It's to
do
the
it.
point.
I'm totally pulling this out of my ass, but my guess is that they'd go to like, you know, native populations, and
Yeah.
they'd see them fucking other
Yeah.
ways and be like, no,
Right.
No, I
Right.
think you're right. I think it's
Yeah.
Hey, that would
I
make
totally
sense.
think it is because they're trying to like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
That's
on the
what-
ground, you on top.
That's what white people do. They make shit less funky. As a rule.
What are you doing?
Oh, I don't
like
know. We're just like
dogs.
having a good time. Guess that's not allowed under white people rule.
Certainly not.
I think what you mean is square people rule, but you know, 6 of one, half of the other.
I mean, yeah, the same thing. Yeah.
Well, did you find it, Connor?
Well, so this is the bit. She's like dressing him. She's like adjusting. He's getting disguised. And then he starts thinking about, it's after he takes a break in talking about that. And then he comes back and he's talking about Yamar the Just sitting under the tree and
Yeah.
everybody passing by. And then he like abstracts that into like, how do you know
That whole part is
like
pretty
that
interesting.
it's all about his choice? And then then he gets to this point of like, no intellect is needed to see those figures who wait beyond the void of death. Every child is aware of them, blazing with their glories, dark or bright, wrapped in authority older than the universe. They are the stuff of our earliest dreams, as of our dying visions. Rightly we feel our lives guided by them, and rightly we feel how little they matter to them. The builders of the unimaginable, the fighters of the wars beyond the totality of existence, which I think is Zadkiel. And he,
Like, you think that he's talking about this thing, like, yeah, we all can relate to this experience of feeling like we're guided by something, but you think that that's, like,
As children.
specific to him. That he, like, when you're like, oh yeah, like every time you eat ice cream, your dad slaps you in the face. That's just how it, and then everyone's like, whoa, and then you like, that's when you realize that, like, something weird that happened to you as a kid. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, but
I'm off
so-
on a tangent now.
he's talking about like how decisions are made and what the role that desire plays into making of decisions, and like
And-
he's partly reflecting on how he's attracted to Ajia. And like this is all comes from him staring at her shadow, I believe. And so yeah, he chases it out to like, even as a child, we know that there are these blazing glories, dark or bright,
Yeah.
that are desired. They are the
Right, and I'm saying, like,
I just don't find
He's
any
putting
place
that
where he's
forward.
talking about her shadow.
That happens
because I
before,
think it
right?
happens before even the break. It happens pages before that, and it's just him like babbling on about.
Are we in like chapter 26 or something?
No, this is
No,
from
this
like
is
last.
Chapter
Yeah, this is from the last one.
We're
17.
It's
dipping back
Satchel.
a little bit.
The challenge. This is last week's reading. I didn't mean to draw this much attention to it.
Well, now you have.
We all got our books open
It's
and
great.
everything.
It's whatever.
Sorry, everybody.
Oh,
Sorry,
and
making us
still
read
good.
this book.
So angry.
In the in chapter 16? And was it the last one?
The
He's
Hut
like,
Junk?
it's kind of like he goes off on desire, like very explicitly.
He's very disturbed by how attracted he is to Aja, I think.
But no one can say from what it is we call almost at our pleasure, love or desire is.
Oh, that whole thing.
Yeah. Which that there's like 2 pages there where he starts opining on love and desire, where it's such a roller coaster ride because you're just like, oh Gene, no Gene, oh well that sounds kind of true, no Gene, no. Like,
But it's not Gene. I think that's an important thing in this book. It's
Severian.
Is when Severian's being a horrible asshole. It's not Gene Wolfe saying this is cool. It's him being like, I've made this horrible asshole. Can you figure out that he's an asshole?
I mean, I guess I can't help but think that it's Gene Wolfe being like, like it's a confession. It's like, this is the asshole I'm afraid I am.
There's a little bit of that. Yeah, I don't totally agree with you, Connor. I think Gene Wolfe thinks Severian's a little bit cool too.
Oh, I don't.
A little
really
bit of a
don't.
badass.
I think that he does think that this is the asshole that Gene Wolfe is afraid that he is, but I think that he is expiating it and trying to lead people to figuring out where this asshole is inside of them too.
Maybe.
Like, don't be Severian.
Mm-hmm. Possible.
I really think.
But it might be cool if you had a sword.
Because I think, and Jen might feel differently than me on this topic, I think that in later books, he shows that not all of his characters have to be this kind of an asshole.
I'll grant that. Yeah, that's true.
They're
because
dumb, though.
That they're other.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy in the
Yeah.
next? What's the next series? Is it the
Silk.
Short Son, the Long
Silk.
Son? Yeah,
Silk.
Silk is like the opposite of
Severian.
Severian. Yeah,
Totally.
absolutely.
But he's
Except
still
they're both
Not in every
He's
way though.
still
Actually,
his own
I
kind
feel
of
like
asshole.
I feel like I did not particularly enjoy Silk's orientation to women, any more really than Severian's.
Yeah,
I can't wait to
It's
read
kind of a
that.
different
yeah.
style.
I gotta reread it honestly.
To hear from people that don't like Silk.
No, I don't not like Silk, but I don't love him like
He
Connor.
is.
I mean, I think he's
Severely
oblivious to women. I think that he just doesn't pay attention to them. And it's so much more palatable to me than how Severian is to women.
Yeah, maybe that's
And then
because you're
there's
not
Horn.
a woman and you don't deal with every kind of asshole.
That's very true.
They all kind of suck.
Well, there's 2, and we get to choose one.
There's 3.
Oh yeah.
There's 3. Because
yeah.
Horn is his own kind of asshole.
So Gene Wolfe's whole career is just deconstructing these assholes.
I think.
But I don't get enough from the text that's
Critical,
questioning
yeah.
Severian.
This is only from reading
without
other
getting
things.
into like butt and conspiracy and like digging in like on the surface and even below just a level below the surface. I don't pick up on it exactly. But I want to is the thing because the book is so wonderful and beautiful and I love it.
Yeah.
But it also has these like.
Does he ever
problematic
have any kind
strengths.
of like repercussions or any kind of consequences for the way that he treats people at all?
Severian?
Not really.
Not within the text.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes through
He
hard
might not
times.
talk about it.
Exactly. I think
Oh,
that he
yeah,
does.
right.
and-
Oh,
and
right, yeah,
We just don't get
that's
to see
true.
it because he's embarrassed.
That's true. He doesn't talk about the things that make him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets
He skips
fucked
over
up.
things.
Are there any like little clues that maybe something had happened that he doesn't that he like glossed over? I can't really think of anything off the top of my head right now of like.
I don't think in the sections that we've read yet, but he
Yeah.
hasn't gotten too deep in with any of the women explained.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, like, on this reading, I got some vibes that maybe he was involved in some sort of, like, molestation or something, like, younger.
Oh,
just,
we're
like,
talking
as
about
part
Well,
of
you
the
know
guild.
that's happening
But
in
it's
a
never-
situation where there aren't any women in the guild.
It's just the
It's
vibes I
definitely
got,
happening.
though. Like,
It's
I
the
didn't...
Catholic Church thing.
Yeah, right. Like, I think I was just, like, maybe just, like, reading
talking
into
about
it
that
and
last
interpreting
Yeah, I
it.
feel like we talked about that.
A little bit. Like, I did kind of just, like, yeah, when he's talking to Gurlos and Palemon, like, I don't know, it just kind of occurred to me, but again, I don't see specific, like, mentions of it or anything, but it's just kind of...
Then is them sending him to the whorehouse like kind of molestation by proxy?
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, like forcing a sexual experience or something.
In like a very specific kind of sexual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Be like, this is the normal thing. That's like a kind of molestation.
Yeah. But I also don't think, like, Wolfe would write about it. Like, you know, it just seems like kind of, like, outside of his scope.
About
Like,
an actual molestation.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would be Wolf is all about people who are oblivious or repressing things. It's about people not noticing what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, if a molestation were to occur, he would, of course, only indicate it tangentially in other things.
It'd be couched in very different language.
Right.
Yeah. But throughout the text, I mean, there is this sort of like goofy like sexuality. Like he's like always like checking out like Agia and like her like like whatever she's wearing, her rags like slipping off all the time. Like,
But he's also always talking about like, but she's not that good because this girl's better in this way and this girl's better in that way. Yeah. But she's so here right now.
And then sometimes he's just like, well, they're all the same, and I love all of them.
Because he is so young.
Well, he spends a lot of like after they pick up Dorcas, he spends a lot of time thinking about like, oh man, like I don't want to like ditch this girl, but I think she's kind of cock blocking me right now.
Right? Yeah. He actually says that.
He's like, this is really gonna get in the way of me convincing Agia to have sex with me.
Well, and then Dorcas is like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cock block you.
Yeah.
Right.
She says that.
And then she's like,
But
I
I
don't mean
love
to
you.
cock block you, but I love you.
Yeah. So fucking weird.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, your move, Saran,
Professional. It's a good
I don't mean to cock block
No,
you.
so here's something about Dorcas that like becomes that I was thinking about before we started reading this again, but it becomes like I didn't realize it becomes apparent like immediately, like as soon as she appears. Like yeah, she's like talked about like she's this like little like waif, this little like or sad little orphan, but she's the smartest person in this book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She has Agia figured out right away. Like she knows she's like kind of manipulative in like a weird way that like Severian never notices. But like yeah, he's like I need to protect Dorcas, but Dorcas is the one protecting him the whole time and like telling him like don't go over there or like I'm gonna get him out of this situation and like
she and Severian are like linked like from the moment, and she seems to to grasp onto him. Yeah, and it's interesting to think of her as like manipulating him, or one step ahead in kind of a way.
So, timeline wise, like necessarily, she would have to be dead before Severian's born, right? Like she.
Probably, yeah, like 40 years before or something.
To take it to the literal world, like she never met him when she was alive.
Yeah,
but I still wonder if there's some kind of like. If she's latching onto him because of this kind of like familial bond.
I think, yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, I don't know if this was like something that was known about when this was written or if this is something that Gene Wolfe had even written about, but like there's this thing where if like family members who didn't grow up together, when they meet each other, they immediately become sexually attracted to each other and it's almost impossible for them not to have sex. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's for
because you're like, it's me.
Right. I guess it's just like you feel
I love myself.
You feel like an instant attraction because you're like related, but you didn't grow up with the taboo of like can't do this.
I read that because of these like genetic tests bringing people together who have. I read it. Yeah, that was mentioned in that.
Oh my god.
Oh, like the
DNA
things.
Yeah.
So people are like, my cut, hey.
Whoa.
Maybe that's
a cool way to get a date. Huh?
Maybe it is.
Way to get a date.
I mean, you know the guy's gonna be.
Sounds like you'd have
into
more
you.
success
If they're more than
than
second
Tinder.
cousins,
Yeah.
it's fine.
It sounds like you'd have more success than Tinder. They meet you and they're immediately like.
Depends on what your goal is, I guess.
It needs to be a family Tinder.
I use Tinder to see how many people own Orioles and Ravens shirts.
You keeping track of
I
that?
just want to make
You
sure
got a
they're
big
still
tally?
A tally.
Got another one.
How many dog owners there are?
How many men who hold fish? It's a very popular Tinder profile.
Is that right?
Apparently, I mean, I've never been on Tinder.
Yeah,
I
me neither.
think they got married before Tinder became a thing, but like,
It's fucking weird.
It's
I'm
weird.
just finding it now.
I had the
don't get it.
sickest OkCupid profile for It was me holding a bowl of milk into the webcam, and the answer to every question was here, kitty, kitty.
how'd that go for you?
No messages. But I tried a serious one before that. Also no messages. So it didn't hurt.
I'm surprised no success with your
Yeah,
kitty.
not even one.
I figured like, okay, this is not going to work for a while, but when it does, it's going to work big.
It'll be the perfect.
You know? Better to have one a soulmate than
Well,
like
maybe you
20
just,
okay
maybe you
dates.
just didn't keep it up for long enough.
I know, I didn't. It's really, it was the thing. It's like a 4-year plan.
You
Yeah,
take
by
it
that-
down, I'll
by
change
that
my
logic,
OK
you would have
Cupid
had to-
profile to be it. We'll see how. See
You
if
can
I
do
can
it.
get with an anthropomorphic.
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. You have to use a picture of me though.
Huh?
You have to use a picture of me though.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
All right.
It'll never work, Connor. Don't do it.
All right, let's go to the jungle.
Okay. Thank you again, Jen.
Let's not talk about this anymore.
Thank you again.
At book club.
Oh, I realized this time that one of the big lies that I thought there's some time later in the book where Severian refers to meeting up with a dinosaur. I was like, well, where the fuck was that? And now this time I see that it's in there. There's some lizard with a big sail in a creek that just like happens for a moment.
A
I always thought
Dimetrodon?
that was
Yeah.
yeah.
A couple chapters later, he's like recommending that Dorcas go to like a warmer room, right?
Oh yeah, and then
Yeah.
he's like, ooh,
He's
but
like,
you might get
oh,
eaten by
there's
that
like
big
a-
old thing. Maybe you should go to the sand room instead.
I always thought that was like, oh well, he totally forgot to tell us about that, but no, he didn't.
Was it just like a little detail?
Yeah.
I read it when he mentioned it, and then I had the thought where, oh, when did that happen?
Right.
But
It does
you're saying
happen.
it's like a
Wait, the-
sentence in here.
A
Yeah.
dinosaur? He
Yeah.
mentions he's like straight up like I saw a dinosaur.
He probably gave it like a weird description, right? Like, what does he call it?
He calls it a Dimetrodon later, right?
Dimetrodon.
And in this one, it's
Could be
just
anything.
describing it.
That's cool though.
Is this flattering to Robert Graves? Like the depiction of Borges is very flattering. What's going on here? I don't really know enough about Robert Graves.
Is this Robert Graves? I'm
In the-
I'm in the dark.
In the
That's what
hut.
people say.
In the
Okay.
jungle.
Okay.
I mean, his name's Robert.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Graves apparently was
A missionary.
Okay.
But I've only read
Okay,
that
gotcha.
in conjunction with somebody saying in this book, this is Robert Graves because of this.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I was
So
like,
luckily, they're all literalists. I don't think they would get that wrong.
right.
That's legit. There's
His
enough
name is
clues there.
Robert.
If it's on Wikipedia.
Wait,
I
are there any
feel
more like textual like clues? Like his name is Robert and he was a missionary. Like, is there just out of curiosity?
Well,
Like,
there's a lot. I mean, and just this book refers to Robert Graves.
And him being
Okay.
dazzled by archetypes.
Yeah,
Other people
yeah.
can't see.
The whole book is a pastiche by Claudius. A lot of the weirdo words that he uses in this, Robert Graves uses all the time. It's like Gaudius.
Oh, okay.
Gaudius.
Well, what about? Do we know who Marie is? Did he have like a wife named Marie? Do we know?
I believe his wife was not named Marie. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I don't know. That
So,
seems
what-
interesting.
I read a couple different theories about this, and I was trying to figure it out myself. But like, what do you guys think is the reason that she's the only one that can see them?
She's the one who can't see them, right?
Right.
She's the one who can't.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. There was one person that I read on the web that was saying, like, maybe in that way that. Although this doesn't really make sense either.
wait, well,
maybe
I'm
in the way.
thinking- remind me who. So he walks into the hut. There's a man sitting there who's kind of like having a vision. Is that what's
Okay.
happening? There's like a man
They
sitting there.
go in my mind. They kind of go up the ladder and they
Yeah.
go to like the edge of the hut. They're kind of like
They're
in
not-
the doorway or something.
Okay.
Right.
And there's a man and a woman, the missionaries, and like a native indigenous person.
There's like three people
no
in
clothes
here.
on,
Okay.
and that person
Yeah.
sees them come in
Yeah,
and
yeah.
is like contextualizes it within his like cultural frame of reference as these like spirit entities, and then the dude missionary sees them and is like, and the lady missionary is like, you guys are full of shit, don't entertain this hocus pocus, like, you know, does the full on like, or do you think she sees them and just refuses to, because it's not within the like Christian paradigm, is like, fuck no, we're not doing this, like,
It's very.
I
Is there a
deny
difference
you,
between
I
the
deny
two?
you.
Yeah, I mean, he says you have eyes to see. He has eyes to see, and you don't. To
Sure.
her. I mean, it's like I feel like it's sort of unfortunate the way that it breaks down in gender, but I feel like he is doing like Robert Graves is a missionary with doubts. Marie is the missionary without doubts, and then the naked dude is like the other world. You know, that's like kind of opening Robert Graves' mind.
When they're coming into the hut, they're talking about. I think that they're talking about
The mirrors.
Well-
no, oh, that's before that.
the Robert and Marie are talking about. Marie, I think, is reading from
The
what
Bible.
the Bible, talking about God saying to Moses, yep, here it is. This is the promised land, but you're not going to get there. You're going to die first.
Right.
I don't know if that.
Oh, and that's Robert Graves, maybe. I mean, like in this scene, he's confused and disturbed. So, like, is maybe the idea here, like Robert Graves was onto it. He was onto it, and he didn't quite get all the way there, but he was so close.
Right, and well, and a lot of what Robert Graves is talking about is like, here's this Jesus myth, and it's here's where it occurs. Like, here's all the stories that influenced the Jesus myth, and they work the same way, and it's the same story, and their differences are important and their similarities are important, which is kind of what this guy is saying, where he's like, oh yeah, no, this guy's right. There are Tokoloshi over there, but there are European Tokoloshi, but it's all the same, So there's that.
What about the fish? I want to talk about the fish.
Where's
Talk
the
about
fish?
the fish.
So the Issei Goma is trying to like tell this long story about his nephew who goes to this lake and he's trying to catch a fish. He stands over it for so long that all the wildlife like forgets that he's there. And then the big fish comes out. And he thought it was the fish king.
And it turns out to be an undine.
It turns out to be like an undine.
Oh yeah.
And then she was gone. And I'm wondering. I mean, the only other time we've really like talked about fish or heard about fish has been in the context of
the mirrors.
Yeah, the mirrors.
That's one of the theories that I read was that if these different places are actually transporting you via the mirrors, like it's a glass building, and so maybe they're actual similar style of mirrors or whatever. Like that keeps getting alluded to, like you're actually in a different place in time than you were when you walked in or whatever. So that maybe the reason that she can't see them or something is that like it in this way of the fish, it's taking them a while to like materialize in that reality or whatever.
Yeah, like when they do on Star Trek, the like spinning glitter in the glass. Like that's like called the fish in this world.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like a fish. Yeah.
I think that both of these exclamations, to me, they're kind of the same thing. That like she doesn't have eyes to see because she's really into this Christian paradigm, and Robert and Issei believe in a more spiritual, mysterious world, so they can see these people who are being transported from another world. Is just also saying that like she resonates with the world that she thinks she's in so
much
hard
that she can't see any other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Oh, also, I guess I'll apologize that I did more internet reading this time than I did
Nope.
on all the other times
Good.
combined.
No.
But there is another thing that someone wrote that I felt like
Oh, I thought you were saying
seemed like, oh, that makes sense to me, was like in the way that the last house is a time machine where the further you go up, you're in the further in the future. Like that the hut is a similar time machine. So you're going up into the future or whatever. And also that is how the atrium of time levels work.
Yeah.
So the missionary characters, by ascending the ladder into the hut, have traveled into the future.
I mean, it's our future. It's the future world, right? Because this is like in our time, more or less, that the hut exists. in,
Right. Yeah.
Which is
roughly
the
speaking,
distant future.
like late 19th century, probably.
Wait, distant future. Our time is behind them.
Oh, I thought our time was in the future of this.
Oh.
No, I think that
I don't think so.
I think that the reckoning is that like Apu Punchao happens after us. Like we have become like the most obscure memory by the time Apu Punchao happens. The Age of Myth, I think. There's a timeline breakdown in the lexicon.
Well, then the hut's not a time machine.
Well, no, I think it still is a time machine.
It could be a time machine for the missionaries.
No, I think Severian and Agia are going back in time.
So, but
yeah, but then it would be
that's
opposite.
That's not in keeping with the idea of the ascending.
Oh yeah, because I don't think going up into the hut is a time machine.
Oh.
Right. Going into the garden is a time
Right.
machine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Then why is there a dinosaur walking around?
Because they're close to the door.
You can make a Cali mocha.
And then as they go deeper into the garden,
Put your Coke in your wine.
Back, but they're in like the same room.
True, so I don't like
I kind of thought of
I
each
have that
room
too.
as like.
I think it's good.
but it's
so
like
there
how
was
as you
also-
go up the house, the last house, like the third floor is,
The distant future.
you know, at the end of the world, and the first
Black
floor
box
is
is an
the
insurmountable obstacle.
Okay.
It's tough.
The other thing that that person said, where they were likening the hut to the last house, is that she says that thing like even if you turned around, like you wouldn't find it again. Like you have to
Right.
approach it in a very specific way, or you won't find
Yeah.
it or whatever, and you can't like turn around and go back to it.
Yeah, I think it works with the same physics.
The path you take determines your journey through time, I guess. Which might make sense when you go back to the atrium of time too, because
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other one that's like that. Those were like the three examples because
They talk about the house absolute too.
maybe
Which I
Because
think
there's
works
a thing-
slightly
how
differently.
does that work? Yeah.
because there's a thing where. Yeah, I mean, the only way to get to the atrium of time is like through all those like weird tunnels or whatever.
Yeah, right.
You just,
Like
drop into it.
he'd been down there like his whole childhood, but he'd never stumbled upon that one area, and
Right.
doesn't again until later. When
You
he
have
returns.
to take that specific path to get to it.
Yeah. Right. And that's kind of what's happening here. And when he's running, like skipping forward a little bit, when he starts running in the one room near where the Cumaean is and wherever it is, like the Lake of Birds, he starts running and then he ends up in the water. Mm-hmm. Right? The way he describes it is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
like he's
weird.
like 1 second I was running and the next.
Well,
I
he's
was
like,
in the
I
water.
tripped, and then
Which-
all of a sudden I was running,
Well, he doesn't.
and then all of a sudden
He doesn't
I
even
was-
say he tripped though. But that's, I mean,
He doesn't?
you could read it that way. I'm pretty sure he
think
just
he
says
does.
like I'm
He's
running,
just-
and
he's, like,
then I
trying
was
to
in the
catch
water.
up.
I thought he tripped and then started running.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Well, that
I was
seems
about
kind
to
of-
overtake her and give her my arm. I made one of those missteps that seemed disastrous and enormously humiliating at the time, though one laughs at them afterward. And in so doing, I set in motion. Okay.
So he phrases it as a misstep.
Oh yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe he doesn't trip. Maybe you're right.
I just think it was worded.
Oh yeah,
Oddly.
I just read that weird.
Well,
Now that I'm reading it again, I think you're right. He's just like running to catch them, and then he's in the water.
But I mean, my reading this time was just like, was the act of just like bolting, did that somehow alter his relationship to his like space around him?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
running, and then all of a sudden like, oh, I'm in the water all of a sudden.
Well, he was in the desert garden for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
He thought that he had just stepped in and stepped out.
Right.
Yeah.
He just says in running came too near the inner side of a curve in the track.
Okay,
So I
so he
think
probably tripped. I mean,
yeah. Well, it seems like if there's a curve in the track and he's kind of like not watching it.
yeah,
Maybe he's trying to like cut a corner a little bit.
Yeah.
And he just kind of
just
ends up in the water.
yeah. But then he gets like so, like he's so in the water. Too.
Yeah, he goes down deep,
Like-
very quickly.
Yeah, it must be like an immediate drop. Like,
Yeah,
I'm really
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess part of the
but
I
it's like
think
the
it's
sedge,
like a
right? So
walkway
it's like
kind of,
on
basically.
top.
yeah. Well, he
It's like
talks
Beaver
about,
Lake.
yeah. Well, it's like a peat bog kind of zone
Right.
that he's in, right? Because so the like the actual vegetation, like
Is
there's
that-
soil, but there's also like
Yeah, the vegetation.
yeah, there's just like
that.
sedge, like on top of the water. So it seems like it'd be pretty easy to
Yeah.
Oh, mistake.
fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, this is harkening back to the first occasion in which he bends time.
Right.
Yes.
Wait.
When
The
he's, like,
other
in
times
the-
that he brings someone back to life.
When he's in the
When he
plants.
dies in the Nenephars.
When he's in the plants
the
in
water, the
the
water.
water.
Yeah, is this
Yeah.
his second? Wait. Oh,
This
no.
is at least. This is 2.
Does he?
No.
Yeah. Does
He
he
doesn't
die
die
before
here.
he? No, he doesn't.
No.
What?
He doesn't die.
Say-
We need like a death count of Severian.
We've had, and so far in our reading, but not in what we talked about. We've had 2, right?
He,
think
sa- he,
this is death
he
number
saved
two.
himself in the Nenephars, which some people say that the actual, like, when you're counting Severians, Severian 1 dies in the Nenefars.
Right.
And comes back as Severian 2.
This isn't a Severian death, though. This is
No.
he resurrects Dorcas. Here.
But he brings back Dorcas.
Wait,
and
but
it's-
at the duel he dies, and then what's the other one?
Oh, right.
That
Yeah.
we've read? Have we read any
I
others?
think those were.
Oh, I don't think we've read any
that we've
other.
read.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just died twice.
Yeah, he only died twice. But this is the third occasion, right? Third occasion in which he's really been tied.
What's the
Triskel?
Triskel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Triskel.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Because it's a tricycle. He has 3 legs.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you pronounce it either, but it's referring to that symbol, right? With the 3 legs.
Oh.
I think
Yeah.
It's a swastika.
It's sort of it's a 3-legged.
It's like
swastika.
It's a enfeebled swastika.
It's the symbol of the Isle of Man.
Isn't it used?
It's also
by
on Trinakria, right?
Yeah. Well,
Did
it's
you
a
know the
Sicilian.
Church
Isn't
of
it
the
a Sicilian
Subgenius, right?
thing?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think the Church of the Subgenius uses it.
It's Sicilian, I thought.
Yeah.
The Basques? The Basques? I think the Basques use it.
I think it's used in a lot of different places.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a popular symbol.
And still is.
Sorry. So the resurrections are himself, the dog,
Now
Dorcas.
Yeah. Or Cos.
I am Dorcas.
Right. Oh man, I never even put that shit together.
Really?
No, that's
That's
Only on
Dorcas's
this
husband.
reading did
Yeah.
I. Only on this reading did I finally notice that. And is that something we agree on, that he's looking for Dorcas?
I mean,
Yes.
that makes a lot of
and,
Definitely.
sense.
and Severian just happens to find Dorcas immediately. That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I mean, I kind of partially think that he's able to bring her back to life. Spoiler alert, because she's his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Why would her being his grandmother be different? I mean, he brought back a dog before.
Yeah, a dog is a mere beast. And I don't know, I just, it's easy to bring.
Grandma is one step up.
It's easier to bring back things that are closer to who you
So
are.
what's the theory for how he brings these beings back to life?
Because he has the claw on
Because
him?
he is the
But he
claw.
didn't have the claw
Oh,
he is
first.
the claw.
Right,
No,
he
because
is
he
the
is the
claw.
He's
claw.
the-
Yeah, he finds that out in Earth.
So this happens sometimes. This is a thing that happens around Severian.
Sometimes people come back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Often, somehow.
Yeah,
actually.
really.
So he trips into the water.
Every
literally-
single person alive at the end of the book is brought back to life because of Severian.
Well, so like, I think your theory about Dorcas being related to him makes sense because why didn't he resurrect 100 people when he was there?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people in there.
Yeah. And because she was so
Well,
old, but
she
then
touched him, too.
the
I mean,
other the other people that he resurrects later, maybe because they were like freshly dead or something.
Is Dorcas dead or alive down there when he happens to?
Because he does talk about,
There
what's
are
his
people
name?
who
he
are
talks about her
alive.
eyes
Yeah.
opening
Yeah.
and she goes under.
The
Oh.
so-called manatees.
No, she's dead and had lead forced down her throat and sunk in a lake.
So she
Right.
is dead.
And then his
But the
presence-
eyes opening thing.
Her eyes
that's
open
true.
to see him.
What are we talking about?
No,
the husband talks about
Dorcas'
when she was
husband
there.
says when they sink her,
Her
when
eyes
she
open.
hits the water, her
Oh.
eyes
Yeah.
open.
That's just
And
a
that's
cool-
and that's
Glue
why he's
in the
looking
ground.
for her.
And Hildegren says that thing about how you can be down there basically in suspended
Oh.
animation in a coma for a really long time.
And so
feel
remember
like
when
that's
they're
all red
talking about the
herrings.
manatees? That this is.
I think those
also,
are undines.
The whole section of where they talk about there's like a pipe
Yeah.
like filling up with water. That's like what? Like this is like a.
Well, yeah,
it makes
I
it,
never
that
noticed.
feeds
it makes it
into-
seem
I
like a
never
water
noticed
park
that
or
before,
something.
actually.
Like a conventional
before
park.
This read was Hildegren says that thing that's like, you will remember you came in through a pipe. in the
Yeah,
ground."
what does
And I was
that
like,
mean?
Yeah, you came
what
up
is-
through a pipe. So I guess they were. I don't know. Like maybe that's saying like they're in a more elevated. I don't know. That is weird.
Is it
Yeah,
like
there's no allusion to a pipe before that, but he's like, yeah, you'll remember you came up.
But do
And
they
they're
talk
like,
about their actual entrance into the Lake
No.
of Birds?
No, they don't. They skipped from. I looked because I went back and looked. They leave. He opens the door for her out of the jungle, and then the next thing, they're like already in the lake room.
Then it's just when I had first heard of the flower.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man.
I just thought that was a
Started
weird
talking about
thing
that.
for him to just say.
Totally. Like what? How did they get in
Flagged
there?
it this
Like,
time.
did they climb up a ladder through
I
a
guess
pipe?
I thought
I think that-
I thought he was just speaking hypothetically, Hildegren, when he was just like, yeah, and if you like, yeah, there are pipes that lead in here, and like, I don't know. I just thought that, but that's interesting that jumped out to you.
If the whole room is a lake, then the way that you get into it is that like it's like a toilet trap kind of thing, you know, that you'd have like a pipe that would be higher than the water level over there. You'd go down and up, and then you wouldn't have to open a door and let all the water out.
Interesting.
But then Hildegren also says that thing about how there's more entrances than the curators know about.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Because the Kumean comes.
also,
Right.
the idea is that this is taking them to another place in time, right, or another place in the world, but that the lake is fed from a pipe from outside the building.
The lake is fed from the guile.
Yeah.
So, it's like
that's a good
it's like a
point.
hybrid of another place in time, and there's a lake being fed from outside the building, like right outside. You know, like this pipe just leading in here and like filling it up with water, which I guess it can. But does that seem?
I didn't think
odd?
of it as a pipe. I just thought of it as an opening.
He describes. Well, I'm talking about the lake. The guy says there's water that like that's how the lake gets its water.
Right. I didn't.
Right.
I just didn't remember it being a pipe. I thought it was like an opening,
Or
and
an
the
opening.
manatees would come in.
Yeah.
And that's why that. But
There's
I think the
manatees coming
manatees
in.
are undines.
I have some facts to throw into this that will only cause more confusion and grant no
Wonderful.
answers.
All right.
Bring it.
So, a vern,
Vern and Shirley.
a vern refers to the lake Avernus,
And also Ernest.
which is called Avernus. It means no birds, because no birds could live in it because it was so salt saline.
Oh, A as in like not.
Right, exactly.
Amorph.
Yes.
And because nothing could live in this lake, it was thought to be an entrance to the underworld. Guile is kind of like the Hades of Norse mythology. So it makes sense that the river of death feeds into this lake of death where people are buried.
And then, like, the Averns kill birds.
Yeah,
Also.
and everything.
And, everything, but notably birds.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
mentioned birds. He
Bees,
mentioned
and birds. Yeah, which is a
Grass.
really.
Which is
So,
like, such an
the Avern
adorable
is a
little
cockblocker
image.
as well, right?
It's
Because
such a
it's made
sweet
out of,
little
like,
image of
anti-
like
It kills all the birds and
all
bees.
these little
yeah.
bird skeletons and like bees.
Yeah.
Bee
Below these
skeletons.
scary- Well, the bee skeletons is on the outside of his
That's
body,
right.
so.
Oops,
So
Well, is it?
can we just get some grounding on the lake though?
Yeah.
Like he describes it as a volcano as
A
well.
crater.
Part of
Yeah.
Volcanic
Would you
crater.
have to get into the inside?
So that's what's up.
Exoskeleton.
Like they're in a crater, full of cold water.
Oh, because he talks about how it's a dead volcano.
Yeah,
He's
so
talking about how it's a
yeah,
Yeah, he
volcano.
Like
says
Crater Lake in Oregon.
the fires of the earth have been dead for a long time or whatever.
Yeah.
Like no.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And this is where the
He does
Cumaean
talk about how
lives.
it's a volcano.
Is right.
Yeah.
Like up,
Yeah, like
up in a
cave
hill
around
there.
it. Yeah.
Okay. And it's just like this area where who is it? The autarch or Father Nere comes to like.
It's the autarch.
The autarch.
So
The
yeah,
autarch.
so you can come and talk to the command without going to the other side of the world. Although the argument is that this is the other side of the world, or is it something
Right.
like
I
that?
think, yeah, I
that's,
think it's many
that's where my
different places at
confusion
once.
of okay, so it's another place, right? You walk into here and you go to another time and place, and it has a lake that's filled with water from outside.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's like portal architecture.
Yeah.
It's like there is a real
I
building.
think the
Certain
Cumaean's cave
doors
is
are
a
portals.
Yeah.
portal.
But they don't all
Yeah.
go to the same place and all the same time. You know, you have a portal here that goes to this place.
Well,
at
just
that time.
imagine being there in getting there, not through the botanical gardens, getting there through another way, right? Like through the world, and then jumping down the lake, you know, with your scuba gear, and then going down to the enclosure, and then swimming through, and then ending up outside in the Geel, you know. Like,
Yeah.
It's just a very labyrinthian and
Maybe
unusual.
your entrance into the garden would determine your experience of it. Like if you're coming in with the water, then maybe you're kind of experiencing it as just a garden, you know, a finite area. But if you're going through the portal, then maybe that's what gives it its like sort of time bending properties.
I also think that there's an element here of what we were talking about earlier with Severian and Agia, where places are being reduced to archetypes as well. So like, it is all death locales at the same time, and kind of in a way, if you're in a place that symbolizes death, you're in this garden.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The atmosphere is great. Like I loved reading it. This reading, like this whole scene is just like so crazy, and like the plot of Averns is just so imaginative.
And how the Avern's like closer to you than you think it is.
That whole thing is incredible. Yeah, like that. Like they must.
We're
come
just
to-
having book club.
Who is that?
Some guy.
He's just
Wanted
checking
to
it out.
see if there was something in here for him.
There wasn't.
Well, there is if he read up to adjective.
That's what we should have asked.
Yeah, let's see if he caught up on the video, on the streams and everything. Maybe he could join in.
You know what we really need is
Follow
just
the
a big
channel.
bright light.
Just shine at the door.
No, just shine on us. That's what make the streams watchable. So if there was one
If they're
blinding light.
well lit,
Well, I'm getting a whole bunch new light stuff.
No, it's a
this
day
week.
From Garrett's?
Yeah.
Cool.
definitely looks like we're in a dirty black
Get
box.
a
We could
best
change
costume
all these
designer in
LEDs
Baltimore
to
while you're at his house.
Huh?
Get the best costume designer in Baltimore while you're at his house.
Oh yeah, I'll just pick her up.
Yeah,
We can store her upstairs.
you work here now.
So Hildegren.
The badger.
Yeah, what? Okay, so first of all, the badger. What the hell is that?
That means he's a digger.
Okay.
Digs shit up. Contracts other diggers.
Like Grant and that other
can't
guy
do it
trying to get
himself.
And he hangs out at Toad Hall.
Yeah, he's like
Radiant.
one man or 20. It doesn't matter.
Oh my God, can I
I'll dig
just
it the
say-
fuck up.
How much I love that he calls Agia Mistress
Yeah.
Slops.
Oh yeah.
Cracking
Oh,
up
he just
when I was
shits on
reading.
her the whole
I
time.
was cracking the
Yeah.
fuck. Well, they've obviously met before. She goes in there with dudes all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. I guess so.
Think about
Well, and it's also interesting because
She does the whole thing she's doing this day. She's done a whole fucking lot of times before.
Right, because it's
Duping
it's
dudes
her
out of
whole
their
grift.
gear. She
Yeah.
just wants the gear.
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah, like
interesting.
almost every place they go, she meets somebody
Yeah, who
who
knows
she's
her.
already been there with.
For
Yeah, of
sure.
course.
Yeah.
Who,
Like
The
the,
whole-
the
whole
the,
thing,
the
it's her
maitre d'
route.
is just like,
Yeah.
oh hi,
Oh, hey,
like
it's-
yeah, it's you again.
Alright.
It's also interesting because Hildegren works for Vodalus, and
And-
Agia in the future will be the new Vodalus.
And the Cumaean, when he meets the Cumaean later, Hildegren is there.
Right. Oh yeah, he's always wrapped up in all these death scenes.
Yeah.
Like anytime
He
the
was in
things
the-
are coming back to life. In the first scene, they're digging up that body that they're going to eat and bring her back to life.
He's there.
Now he's here. Dorcas comes back to life. Then when they meet the Vivamancer Apu Punjau, he's there.
When they eat Thekla, he's there. Right? Isn't he
Oh,
there?
is he in that?
Isn't he there? I thought he was.
I don't.
No,
I don't
actually,
think
no, he's
so.
not.
Though I
But-
do like thinking of him as a Friar Tuck to Vodalus's Robin Hood.
But he. Why am I
He's just a
associating
grave digger
him with
instead of
that
fire.
then?
What?
What? Maybe I just thought of it. Maybe
Because there's no digging in that scene.
there's no digging.
He's just there to dig.
There's no digging. There's no Hildegren.
What's he?
No.
What's he doing here?
I was gonna say, do you think he's getting bodies?
Seems
Oh.
like it.
Yes,
This
right.
is another
Like,
type of graveyard.
like-
I mean,
Because
the
he's
first time
there a
he
lot.
was in a graveyard.
He's
the second
often
time-
there with a boat because Dorcas's husband knows him. He's like, this
Right.
guy's always
Yeah,
here.
he's
He's
hanging
got a
out.
boat
I was
on the damn
assuming-
lake full of bodies.
I was
And
assuming
he's-
he was hanging out with the Cumaean because that's her like zone.
And he,
But-
well, and his
No,
boat's
but-
definitely
well-
big enough to take some bodies, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas Dorcas's husband.
But
is
maybe
Even though he's
maybe
only
he
out there
meets
by
her.
himself.
Maybe he meets her later after Zavarian meets Hildegren. Maybe then he just knows a lot of people. Maybe
He's just there to get more bodies for Vodalus,
That's what I think.
right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just for Vodalus?
But then he must.
We don't know.
When
what
does
else
he
would
meet?
do.
That's a good
Does
question.
does he already?
Yeah,
Does he already
exactly.
know
That's
her?
true. Like,
Or does
He's a
he meet her
contractor.
when
Says
he's
Vodalus.
hanging out getting the
Freelance.
bodies?
Wait,
he says
who, the
Vodalus is
command?
the only
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
eating bodies.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Vodalus is just a big interest.
Interesting.
this
And
is the best.
wait,
He's
so
just
what
the one
is?
Severian
What are the
likes to talk.
I can't remember the circumstances. Maybe we shouldn't even talk about this yet. But the circumstances why Hildegren is there when they're on the rooftop when the Apu Punjau has.
Oh, let's wait till we get to this.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can't. The only reason I'm talking about it is because I read it kind of recently, but I can't remember why he was there, so we won't talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm
But
not
it's
there
just
yet.
interesting that I didn't realize until this reading that he was aware of her before that.
That Hildegren
happened.
was?
Yeah.
Or
It's interesting.
Agi?
The Cumaean.
Oh, of the command. Okay. Yeah.
I described.
Cumaean is like a real world nationality, right?
It was a region of Greece, I think.
It's like
That's a
that's
question
like
for Google.
The Cumaean Sibyl, I believe,
Yeah.
there was a dude who became Caesar, and the Cumaean Sibyl was like, if you give me this crazy amount of stuff, then I'll give you all of these books. And he was like, no. She was like,
that
okay,
story?
I'll destroy half of them. Now you can have them for the same price. And he's like, no. So she's destroyed half of those. She's like, now you can have these. And he's like, okay, fine, stop destroying all these predictions.
Those are the ones that they end up consulting for like hundreds of years.
I think so.
Oh yeah, okay, so I know that. Yeah, I've heard
I think
that.
I've
She
heard about this
escorted
recently.
Aeneas to the underworld by way of the nearby Avernus Cave.
Avernus.
Cave.
Yeah.
Or Avernus.
Of Avernus cave? Does that mean
A bird.
And
Lack
then
of
that's
birds?
and
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
a birdless cave?
What's the name? It's a capital A.
And the interesting. So he's on a boat, and it's this Death River.
Hmm. This also seems very Dante to me too. Like, just is I definitely get like strong vibes of just lakes of souls, just like, and also the way Hildegren is just like describing everything, sort of like in a who's in the Inferno? Is it Virgil like describing everything to Dante as they're like boating around, just
And
like
Virgil
here's
wrote
this, here's this, yeah. Those are the vibes I got reading it this time.
He
Very mythic.
Is the other Divine Comedies as good as Inferno? Are they all that good?
Yeah, I read them a while ago, but the second one is pretty cool.
Purgatory?
Like Purgatorio. Yeah, like it's not as surreal, but definitely as interesting. You know, like I think in the Purgatorio, he's like walking up this hill, and people are just sort of like laboring. You know, just sort of like stuck, and they're not being they're not tortured, but they're just like working hard and kind of like a little bit stuck. And then at the very top, of course, there's like kind of like a helicopter pad, only it's the Garden of Eden, I think. And then that's where he meets Beatrice, and Beatrice is like, you know, like let's literally fly up to heaven, you know. And he becomes so weightless after because he loses all of his guilt. He just like floats up off into the sky.
Cool. Yeah,
Heaven's pretty psychedelic.
Nobody ever
Live in
reads the
Magnolia,
second
like
two.
the
It's always
book,
Inferno.
Yeah.
The child from.
I don't think there's as many good
from
translations
the
of the
Neverending
second two.
Story.
I think a lot of people
Wait, what?
just translate Inferno.
Yeah.
I thought that the God
Robert
lives in like
Kaminski
a
translation
magnolia
of Inferno
blossom
is pretty
similar to the child.
I think that's the one
like
I read. That's the one
Empress
that's
from the
soft
Neverending
rhyme.
Story.
Tears of Rima.
Maybe.
I haven't read this
I mean,
since like the 10th grade.
Kaminski's
Yeah, it's
a
been a
contemporary
while.
like, American poet.
Honestly, it's the images, like the that I remember most clearly, like the Doré drawings, which are awesome.
Right.
But, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I get strong Dante vibes from this like chapter here.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like in this boat.
I also get Clark Ashton Smith.
Tell me about
Who's
that.
Clark Ashton Smith?
Clark Ashton Smith was like a friend of, or like a pen pal.
He was
of
in the Lovecraft circle.
Yeah, he lived in Northern California. He wanted to be a poet, but he had to take care of his two ailing parents, and so he wrote a lot of pulp sci-fi and made money. And his stuff is really, really funny. Jack Vance is like so. Like there's like 3 or 4 Clark Ashton Smith stories that you can see like baby Jack Vance being born in, but he does a lot of like, we're on Saturn and this is what the flowers are like, and like every, you know, he describes all this foliage that's just like a really cool neat little concept, like almost like Borges, where it's like the story of this flower is a story, but it's 2 sentences.
Yeah. Lovecraft did that too. Wrote a book of sonnets about fungi.
He wrote.
It's called Fungi from Yuggoth, and
Wow.
they're all sonnets about like bizarre alien foliage.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, this is
Yeah.
the book
He
I
wrote,
read.
he wrote 3 stories that weren't
reading
horror
that.
stories. They were just comedy stories. And one of them, which reminds me so much of Clark Ashton, is it's about this ancient poet named Ibid. It's all based on that the Clark Ashton's one of his students or something like turned in something and clearly didn't know what the word Ibid meant.
Right.
And in their citation talked about the great poet Ibid. So then H.P.
Wrote a lot of
Lovecraft
shit.
just wrote a story of Ibid and like what happens to his skull.
I love
later
that.
on, and then it ends up like going to America and falling down a prairie dog hole, and the prairie dogs worship it.
That's pretty cute.
Howard getting weird.
Yeah, it's really funny.
That's
Lighthearted
weird
moment
for
in the life
Lovecraft.
of a miserable man.
Let him have this one.
And there's actually, he has, H.P. Lovecraft has a priest in Atlantis called Clarkish Tom, I believe. That's a reference to this guy.
Yeah.
There's if you never read any other Clark Ashton Smith, The Door to Saturn is so good. It is just, it's so funny in such a contemporary way. Like, it is just, it's really hard for me to imagine this little, like, laboring pulp sci-fi guy, like, kicking out this story because he wishes he was doing poems. And I don't know, it's just like the flippant humor of it is amazing.
I love that it's like, okay, I'm too tired to write poems, so I'll just write some pulpy sci-fi. It's like, it still takes time.
It was like it was like nobody's paying for my poems.
Yeah.
I can't make any
okay.
money from my
Alright.
poems, and my parents are like,
That's
they can't
different.
work.
Yeah, there was a time where people would actually pay money for sci-fi.
Right. Yeah, I wish I had that problem.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Fine. In order to make money,
I
I'll just
guess I'll write
some
this
science.
stuff that I really enjoy.
I just want to be a poet, but I guess I'll just write this cool shit instead.
There might still be more money in pulp sci-fi than poetry.
So I think that's, I think
Definitely.
very fair.
Unless you can be the best poet.
People are dumb.
Yeah. The only people who read poetry are poets. That's
That makes sense.
the problem.
Totally
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. As soon as I started reading poetry, I was like, oh.
I could do this shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hazard this out there. Do we think maybe poetry is not as good anymore?
Ooh, Tim, tell us about
There's
it.
no
I
good
don't
poetry.
know.
Nothing's as good.
Poetry is the best of all of the mediums and genres.
Damn.
Because it can be anything. It's whatever. It has no rules. It has no money.
But almost
No rules,
I
no
mean,
money.
it
It's
sucks when there's
beyond
no
and
rules. Though.
over.
The rules are, I feel
know
like
what you
makes
mean.
it good.
No.
Nah, no.
I like formal poetry more than I like
Formal
free
poetry
verse.
is always better than free verse poetry in every case.
That's not true.
Oh,
No.
It does straight
have you
up
ever
not.
looked
Give
at
me a
Instagram?
Spencerian sun in any day.
I love foreign poetry and prefer to write foreign poetry, but I think that you can't make an argument that it's better by virtue of it having rules.
No, there's no rules.
No,
They
it's
just
better
have
because the
rules,
people
and
that
it is
follow rules are more creative than people that are like, rules. Like, enabling constraints makes
It's
better
it's
art.
I agree.
neither. It's
Completely
neither that.
agree.
No, it's
I
a
agree.
rule.
I agree with Ryan. It's a rule.
It is.
Nah.
All right,
It's not
let's
built in
go.
rules and enforced upon
Tim and
you,
Mark
but-
both
Let's
have
go.
MFAs. You're wrong.
It's uncreative to like jettison all of the rules that came before you. It's uncreative.
I disagree. Like I can't even.
I'm
Damn.
gonna piss everybody off.
Instagram?
I have seen Instagram.
Oh, there's.
Wait, how did Instagram get into this?
Because
Wait,
that's
is
where
this
the-
a like everything is permitted so nothing is good sort of deal, or like?
I have seen.
I mean, it's just
Instagram.
like
I mean, Instagram poetry is often bad.
the person that is
It's not
like
because it doesn't have rules.
the person that rankles.
That's-
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I think it's because it has an audience.
It's because like all you need to do is write a thing and take a picture of it
with a
instead
cigarette
of being
in
like,
the photo.
is this a good poem?
And none of it has been revised.
You find out if it's a good
in,
poem.
like any fashion.
You find out it's a good poem later.
Yeah.
So, about the lake.
Yeah, let's talk about Hildegard.
I want to hear what you think about Rupee Clark.
Is it in the first chapter?
No, I don't
So
want
it's
to
a
talk about Rupee.
volcano. This room is a volcano.
It's the lake is a lake in the crater of a dead volcano. You want this?
Yes, please.
I don't know why that part is like really confusing to me. The fact that it's why is the fact that it's a volcano more confusing than like
I don't
the
know.
fact that it's a portal?
I mean, it's
goes
pretty.
through time.
It's a common thing for a dead volcano
Yeah.
crater to be a lake.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe I just thought it was a weird detail that maybe I think should mean more than it actually does.
You know what's weird detail is Hildegard is talking about it and he refers to it as the mouth of a dead volcano.
Well,
Remember
yeah,
that?
and he says coma.
On page
too.
145.
Yeah.
I imagine
Maybe
him
she was
having
in
that
a coma.
whistling thing
He
that
just
the
has-
beaver from Winnie the Pooh has.
It's so rarely
Gopher, it's a gopher.
in general his
He's
like
called Gopher.
in general his words are just like written down
from
in like
China,
a
so I don't know that
standard
much about
diction,
it.
but here he slips into a dead volcano. Like he doesn't usually like
In-
mispronounce anything,
Scared of no roller coaster?
Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
It's a
he
Haitian.
places it in time. It's like it's just telling you that you're in a world where all of the there aren't any volcanoes anymore because like the inside of the earth is like cooled to a degree.
Yeah,
It's
so,
cold,
yeah.
too,
The fires of the
Yes.
earth are long dead, but like maybe the command is like like
That
Cauldron.
drawing from them somehow.
But he
So
says
I
the whole
guess-
thing like an old prospector.
yes,
He's kind of like, first and foremost, like, yeah, he's like a man for hire, but like, his reaction to Severian mentioning Vodalis is so abrupt and serious that it makes me think that that is his main function in life, is to be secretly affiliated with Vodalis, right?
I mean, sure.
He freaked out when he was like, remember I saw, this...
Well, if you were like going around with like #1 most wanted dude and robbing graves, and then some punk ass brat was
That's
like,
true.
I saw you in the graveyard.
And you tried to kill me.
You tried to
Yeah.
kill me.
Yeah,
and then
that's a
he's
good
just
point.
like, bye.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's just
That's
how
what he
I would
does,
react.
yeah.
I'd be like, okay, don't know what you're talking about. Bye.
Yeah, I didn't think about the fact of like the context of how. All I was thinking of was Vodalis and not the fact that he was like, I was doing this illegal thing and almost.
There's
He also
also-
knows that
there's
IG is
also
bad
the
news, so
reality-
please don't talk about this
think
grave
it's-
robbing I was doing.
yeah. I think it's like an
There's
ixnay
also-
on the Elvel shade.
Yeah. There's also the reality that like this entire time since Severian has left on his own, everyone's just like, ooh, who brought in the new guy? Like he doesn't know shit about shit, and he's just
doesn't
like
know anything.
bumbling through everything, and
yeah.
everyone can see
He's
it on
so
his face.
clueless.
Everyone is just like, ooh, this guy don't know shit. Either like I can dupe him, or like I don't have to tell him shit, or like I have to protect him, or like whatever it is.
It was just what a fucking rude.
But they also all think that he's going to kill me at any second.
right.
Yeah, it's
Everyone's
This idiot's going to kill me anytime now.
Everyone's orientation to him is like on the basis of him being an idiot. Like
right, a deadly, intimidating idiot.
An oath with a sword.
Right.
Like, Jesus, are all you torturers this dumb?
Yeah.
Well, not technically it's torture anymore.
Are we ready to start talking about the Avern itself?
Sure.
Like the flower. Wow. Okay. So the flower is from another world. Has very sharp leaves, and it bends light, I guess, in such a way that it kind of messes with a human-ish perception of where it is in time
it's like
space.
hypnotizing.
Yeah.
and
It
it
seems like the
seems-
flower is very
Yeah.
hypnotic and it draws you in, but also just the way, like, because he's like looking up, he's like, this thing is like 2 cubits away from me, but also I
Right.
feel like it's about to get me.
Yeah.
Like, that
Right.
kind of thing.
Like as if my hand was right next to the microphone right
Like,
now, but I didn't realize it.
It's always closer. You're always closer to an Avern than you think. Sounds like, just like a little piece of advice, like, like the kitchen thing of like a falling knife never has a handle or something. But then it's like actually literally true. You're always closer to the Avern than you think. Like it's
Or
not.
watch pot never boils.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
Well, she
Also
says that.
fucking true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's just like literally true that you can't judge your distance from this thing because, maybe like, because the way that he describes the leaves is that it's like, it makes him think of a sun from another place that would like create colors that they could never see.
Other light
Yeah.
spectrums.
Yeah.
Well, he's describing an event horizon, right? Like a black hole. Like everything's falling towards it. But like in physics, when they talk about an event horizon, they use the word information because like we can't get up and write and make direct observations of a black hole. So the thing about a black hole really is that no information leaves it because everything falls into it. So like even your attention is drawn to this flower because everything is
Like
drawn to
sucked
it.
in.
And it has a face.
Yeah. The face of poison.
It's so good. I want a face of poison.
Yeah, but I feel
Oh,
like
you got it.
even with the description of the Avern, though, like he says it implies the existence of light that's different. Than,
Yeah.
I think it's made out of dark matter.
Like,
Because they have a
yeah.
because I was thinking it's because like the sun is so dark, their sun is dark, that it's just like maybe a brighter sun where like more colors are or
Light-
different colors.
But
Light
the quality of
itself.
the flower.
Well, it seems like the vibrant whiteness of the flower would be pretty hard to achieve under like
a fully dead,
Yeah.
like red sun.
I don't know
So yeah,
Yeah, so
maybe
maybe-
that vibrance
It
does.
might come from like an ultra sun.
Yeah.
You know, like a just a very vibrant and
Just a
alive
vibrant.
sun.
Is this the first? Is this the first reference? It's not the first reference to like other worlds. The possibility of other worlds being in this book.
I wouldn't say that it is. I think
No.
that they've been offhandedly referring to that constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of the first where Severian's like, oh yeah, this isn't from our planet.
It's a little more upfront than I
It's-
think a
yeah.
lot of the other stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like you've been
I don't
crazy.
think that this
He
flower
said
is not only from this planet. I don't think this flower
the
is
universe.
from any imaginable reality.
Yeah.
And you can only get it in this place.
Right, because it
The-
is a cross-dimensional place.
Cool.
And it's the death world, and this is the death plant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like antimatter, you touch it and it cancels you.
Right, and he
Yeah,
does
yeah,
that
it's
whole
got a
speech somewhere
negation.
around here about the increate and like darkness and light and how like
Which is very
how
interesting.
darkness is the lack of order, like chaos, like that whole
Yeah.
thing.
See,
Like
those-
when it's dark, it like the world goes to dissolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the whole like first
But
part of the flower.
That's what
dissolution.
darkness is like chaos.
That's what. Yeah.
Disorder.
I mean, it's also telling that it's called that the chapter is called the flower of dissolution.
Yeah.
That makes me like that whole speech is the thing that makes me go with Connor's thing about the black hole. Not to mention that he's like he got really at the beginning of it. He's like very much just like present day Severian talking. Like he's not like he's one of the points where he pops out of his narrative
He's really
to like just
musing
be
on
yeah
this
he's,
for a second. Yeah.
yeah
Like
and
this-
and at this point he knows all about black holes and all
Right.
that shit.
Yeah, I really like the increate maintains all things in order surely, and the theologicians, I like theologicians also,
Yeah.
say light is his shadow, which is that like that's a really cool, and that might be, is that already a Christian idea? Like the idea that light is the
Shadow of God. I think
It
it's
sounds very
slightly more
familiar.
complicated than
well,
most Christian ideas.
Well, because it's like the idea that
Here,
Zinc.
please.
there's a lot of
I've
stuff
heard
like
of
that biblically,
Catholicism.
where it's like
Oh.
your, you know, like your love for a human is like closer to hate than it is to God's love, like things like that.
Oh,
where there's
yeah,
this
yeah,
constant
yeah.
like idea of like our experience being just like the merest like shadow of whatever like God can do,
Which is a Platonic idea.
right? Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
re-
is- yeah.
really, yeah, it's totally a
Where
like a,
early Christianity was pulling from
shadows in the law
Plato.
kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then he says, but must it not be then that in darkness order grows ever less, flowers leaping from nothingness into a girl's fingers, just as by light in spring they leap from mere filthiness into the air. Just like really, like even. I mean, this isn't the This isn't the Avern. It's a hyacinth, but like just
Perhaps
like,
when night closes our eyes, there is less order than we believe.
yeah,
See,
so-
this is when he's going off, you know, like he's having a moment here.
Yeah,
like,
dark,
In his
darkness
room,
and
in his
disorder.
little,
Yeah. In his cell.
Well,
yeah.
aren't dreams the ultimate disorder that we can really contact?
Yeah.
Like, we have them almost every fucking night.
yeah.
And they just spontaneously occur. And we can't control them. And they're like coherent, but disordered.
Well, that's and well, they I don't know. That reminds the theologician thing, like the idea that like theology being combined with this like logic, like theology being a logic. I think it's really
It's like
interesting.
Aquinas.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think what's fun about reading Wolfe is he's like astrophysics by way of medieval understanding of like
Yeah,
of
totally.
like like
Yeah.
he seems to be like dipping back into like some sort of antiquated philosophy here, but also seems to be
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's definitely
grasping
the
for,
increate
like,
is this like Aquinian like unmoved mover.
or just like these these ideas about what is darkness, you know.
Well, like there's a thing that Palaman
Lack
says,
of order.
like these weird semantic connections that he draws. Like he's talking about, or no, Palaman doesn't say it. Inire says it, talking about light having so little weight that we give its name to the condition of not having weight.
Right.
Yeah, he says
Stuff
that.
like
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, it's about, it's It's interesting because it's not logical, it's Gnostic. Instead of just
Right.
putting words on it, it's making you really be able to feel what those words are.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is a strange homonym.
Yeah.
Would it homophone? I don't know what.
Homophone.
Homogram.
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 Well,
Or no,
yeah.
homophone is when they sound the same. Homogram is when they look the same, like wind and wide.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Light and light.
And homonym.
Is when they mean the
It's
same.
both of those.
No, it's a synonym. A homonym is when it's the same word but it means different things depending on.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Sounds.
Okay.
Homophone.
What's next? What's after the flower?
He gets it. I like that he gets two of them.
Let's go back to the flower when we get to the duel.
Oh, whenever you want to talk about
So
it.
can we talk about the inn?
Yes.
Oh, go on.
Ooh,
Oh,
the inn.
The inn of
Oh man, we
lost
haven't even gotten to the
loves.
inn yet.
We get to see his dad.
It's such a dope fantasy, inn too. Like it's like straight up Dragonlance.
Oh,
It
this
is.
is a first one little thing back to what you were just saying is I underlined this thing where he says, so powerful is the charm of words, which for us reduces to manageable entities all the passions that would otherwise madden and destroy us.
Oh, so, yeah. Damn. 100
Relevant.
emoji.
Yeah.
Bullseye emoji.
The verbal.
Wait, what
emoji.
page is that on?
I thought it
That
was
is
music
on-
when I was a
at
kid.
the bottom of 151.
With that what?
I thought that that's how I thought about music when I was like a teenager. Was like this is the language for like
The intangible.
for like making manageable the things.
That's what
inside.
Mondrian's whole point with the painting was that he wanted to like devise a physical language to describe the divine.
Whoa.
Essentially, and he failed, and that was
And he
that was,
sucked.
no.
I
I mean, like,
say.
I love Mondrian, but like that was like one of his big the big defeat of his like careers that he couldn't,
He's
like through
one
like
more painting, he's like, not God.
yes, not God. He's
Like
like
He
God.
got
Not
a really
quite
bad
God.
review in the heaven.
well, this whole
Times.
deal is like trying to reduce reality to these like
Yeah.
component pieces of like line and
going
color,
around.
and then
Yeah.
but never quite getting
Yeah.
there, never
No, I'm good.
like
Go
never
with that.
quite like coming up with the God.
I'll pass it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You gotta shake that off.
Can I borrow
I
that?
see. I didn't know that.
I know.
I didn't like notice this, but that's
Very
a
true.
serious.
What'd you just
That is a
underline?
serious sentence.
The thing
The
that
thing
Jen
I
read.
said.
Yeah.
That word.
The other thing that I
The-
underlined that we skipped over was where,
I'm gonna have to think.
I
I'm
underlined
gonna
a
have to
bunch
think
of
about
stuff,
that.
but
Say them.
but this thing where Dorcas says, "I'm like you, I would bend time backwards if I could." I felt like that was like a
Yeah.
pretty like tight little.
That was
Oh,
crazy.
what did she say that in response to?
Yeah, she said
well,
that
this is in
earlier.
that really sick part where they're talking about good and evil.
148.
148. Big
yeah.
book.
This is in
I would-
which chapter?
It's in the one we just.
Flower of Dissolution.
Yeah, it's like
I
in
would
the middle of that.
I would
So
tilt
right
it
toward the
as
beginning.
far back as I can until at last they're talking about like good and evil.
Yeah,
and
she
Dorcas.
you know,
says when the
tilting.
world is horrible, then thoughts are high, full of grace and greatness. And then he's like, "Are you making fun of me?"
Yeah, no, but then he's like, no,
'Cause
she's
he's a
not.
fucking chump. And she,
But he's like, no, she's not. And then
she's just talking
like,
about
I
how
would tilt it as
the
far back.
proportions are always the same,
Mhm.
but like, the quantities are the same, but the proportion changes. And he says, I would tilt it as far back as I can until at last the evil runs out altogether.
Right.
And she's like, that might be the good that would run out.
Yeah.
And then
It's
she
like,
says,
"You're a
but,
naive
and
little
then she
bitch, aren't
says,
you?"
but I'm like you, I would bend time backward if I could.
Which is crazy, a crazy thing for her to say.
I
'Cause
mean,
then
she just
later,
pops out just being like,
Later,
dropping
she's the
stuff.
one.
Grandma knows.
Yeah.
She's the
Grandma
one in
knows.
like the third book who is like, I know how the claw works. It like folds time.
Yeah, she.
Yeah. She
This
gets
thing
And
she's
then the
saying.
fact that just the fact that she says that
Yeah.
It's
in
crazy.
such a plain way.
when they make a movie out of this, that's going to be a great
Yes,
moment.
when they make a movie.
It's been optioned.
What?
You know that?
No,
It should
stop.
be a TV series.
Just
and then-
yesterday. Hold on.
What?
Yeah, it should totally be. Yeah, it
The
needs.
guy who on Twitter is his next door neighbor told me.
What?
Stop.
Gene Wolfe's next door neighbor, who was on Twitter.
What?
Text
Gene
told
Wolfe's
me. He
next
messaged
door
me.
neighbor.
We're totally gonna
How
be
does he
watching.
know
that.
You might like this tidbit. Also in January's Locust Mag, film rights to the Book of the New Sun were optioned by Wade Major.
By who?
What has he
Wade
done?
Major, and he told me, Wade Major is a Los Angeles film critic who has produced 2 documentaries. I suspect that he is going to pitch the new Sun to movie studios, cable providers, and online services.
I hate that.
I hope Bradley Cooper's
It would
in it.
have it would have to be a miniseries. There's no way
That's
you
what he
could-
said, like for Netflix.
Well,
to be a
there's
five-season
no way
show.
you could do it in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He barely does it in the goddamn book.
You could.
No, I think that there's
You
an
could-
awesome
unless
way to
you're
do
a
it
literalist.
on Netflix.
You could do it, but you'd have to adapt it in such a way where
Yeah,
where
you'd have to be
things
really-
weren't as clear. You
But
know,
they
like you could
never do a good job.
No, I mean,
No, you got to do
they're
it the
gonna
same way
make-
that Bandersnatch happened, where you can go back and watch a scene and have it be shot in a totally different way that makes you see it.
Well, I was thinking about The Stand.
Ooh,
and
if
how
they do it
that's
like
not been a
that.
good. You know, it's not The Stand by Stephen King. That just hasn't been adapted correctly at all yet. You know.
Oh yeah, no, it
Yeah.
has not.
Yeah. It would
I
have
mean,
to
they
have
can't even
so-
do a fucking PKD book.
Right.
And like his
Have you seen?
concepts
Have you
by,
seen?
Total
by
Recall?
I think
No, not Total Recall. Have you
I'm
seen-
gonna say something that maybe you won't like, where I think that the adaptations
I like that
of
people keep pressing
I think
that when they say stuff to me.
the adaptation the adaptations of Philip K. Dick's work are better than Philip K. Dick's work.
That's an intense thing to say.
Hard, I
It's
know.
more
Have you seen
bad.
Southland
Hard
Tales?
disagree.
Yeah,
Hard disagree.
don't cut yourself
Have
and
you
all
seen
that
Southland
edge.
Tales?
No.
I'm gonna steal that like tomorrow.
It's
No,
not
it's
my experience.
adapted from
He
any of
stole it
Philip
from
K.
the
Dick's
thing, yeah.
books, but it is.
It's a thing.
I think that it is a good representation of his work.
Which one?
Southland Tales.
I haven't seen it.
Everyone
the
who likes
guy who
Southland
made,
Tales has
Donnie
very
Darko.
subtle opinions.
It's a very subtle opinion.
Yeah, about everything. No one likes Southland Tales like on a straight line. It's just like, well, if you think about it this way.
No, I fucking love from second one. I was in love with that movie, and I understand that other people would not like
The
that
Rock's
movie
in
at
it.
all.
The Rock is really good.
The Rock's amazing.
There's
Everything
a
about
lot
that
of
movie,
great people in that movie.
every single quality of that movie is superlative to me. I don't expect anyone else to feel that way.
You always
Fair.
preface your discussion of Southland Tales with that, and I appreciate it.
It's difficult. It's
And
really
it-
annoying.
And you
Just
made,
like Philip K. Dick.
And you made me watch it, and I watched it through Connor eyes, and I was like, this was fun. I loved watching this movie.
I'm just
Yes, clip the one.
Oh, that we could all watch through.
My favorite Peter Gabriel song.
I really like A Scanner Darkly as an interpretation.
I
thought
hated that
was-
movie.
Really?
I thought they left out the actual
Oh.
interesting concepts
I've
in
never
the
seen
book.
that
But
They
it's-
cut it off too early.
But it's
They,
a-
the end, they cut off the ending
it's a
of the
great
book.
movie though. Like it's like
good
forget
movie,
about
but it's not a
forget
good
about
representation of Philip K. Dick.
Whole
Book.
different
Okay,
conversation.
yeah.
Like, I like Blade Runner. Does
Right.
it have the
Same.
content of the
Okay.
book?
Yeah.
No.
Actually,
No,
no.
this is the entire
Okay, you're
Yeah.
right.
Completely.
So
So
first
is
of all,
Total Recall.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
Total
think
Recall's an amazing movie.
They
But
have
this is the point.
never,
Well, yeah.
to my
Right.
knowledge, they have never done a PKD thing where it actually like got the thing he was fucking writing the book about. Like
Actually,
Watch
they always
Southland
left
Tales.
out.
Watch
You
I
were in
think-
Ubik, right?
I was.
The play.
I had
And you
never,
wrote it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like
The
that.
important thing about
I
that,
liked
the
Ubik.
important thing about Ubik was that we did it so that it appeared like it was in Philip K. Dick's world, right? Like which nobody ever does. They always like take it and like put it like
Yeah.
a Minority Report
Yeah.
bullshit. Like
Some
yeah,
important,
like,
some important.
You've stolen my watch.
That was a weird thing you did.
I can't think of the word. Like I have to say when I
Like
made
context.
when I made my daring proclamation that
You mean when you told a lie to all of us?
when I forgot.
Oh my gosh, emergency apology.
I've never seen A Scanner Darkly, and I forgot about how I'm annoyed with Blade Runner about how they cut out how everyone is obsessed with animals, and I didn't, and I thought that they like lost a really important. I feel like Blade Runner loses a really important, a lot of really important stuff from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
Yes.
Which I like more than Blade Runner, and I don't like Blade Runner that much.
I feel like so much of the
More
content
bold
of Philip K. Dick
statements.
stories is emotional and psychological
and such that it's really hard to translate that into a visual medium and retain like even a quarter of all of the shit that's behind
because
everything.
I feel like
what's funny is
I feel like his
he's-
ideas are more interesting than his execution.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Is what's funny is that the thing about PKD is that he has really cool ideas and he's kind of just a bad writer.
Yeah.
But like that's okay because his ideas are cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then what they do is they're like, we're gonna do this plot because like this, but it's like the plot
You're
isn't
right.
what's good.
Yeah.
No, you're
You guys
totally
just
right.
made a
Exactly.
stupid movie.
I had
Which
never,
is why you
and
should
then-
watch Southland.
I had never expressed the opinion out loud that
I
the
mean-
adaptations are better, and now I've said it out loud, and I'm happy you set me straight.
Oh, his books are
They follow
great.
We
the
talked
books,
it out,
but they
that's
do,
why we
those
meet.
movies do like as a I forget. I watched Payback or Paycheck or
Paycheck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Ben Affleck
With
on
John
a plane
Woo,
once.
yeah.
And on a plane, those movies are perfect. Where you're like, this is so. There's like so much more to enjoy than all of the other offerings today on the plane.
Well, I think
Those are movies are good.
Yeah.
It's just they're not good representations.
Yeah, the
They
best.
just don't
Right.
do the thing that
I think
Because
yeah,
they're
even
so
when
corny
you do a
and
bad
cheesy.
adaptation,
There's
it's
like
still-
all of these cheesy details that they take out when they adapt that
See,
are
I
like
feel like
make
A
it more
Scanner
interesting
Darkly
and
was a
cool.
good one.
It's
That was
I
the thing
you
about
read the book.
the aesthetic. I feel like.
It's a moot point.
I feel like the adaptations
It's
always
moot if you ever read the books.
are like sort of like aesthetic
The
adaptations.
energy
Yeah.
is not the thing.
and
It's the
to an
content.
extent narrative, but largely
They took the whole
they are
ending out.
aesthetic instead of intellectual.
Yeah.
Wouldn't know.
But
Because,
and
yeah.
they
Which is
changed
fine.
the aesthetic
I just
of
think
that
it's not relevant
of
to
the
the
original
conversation
text. I
of the book.
think they
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we're gonna make this into an action
Well, it's
movie.
like
Or we're gonna make
yeah,
this
it's like
this
they
kind
take
of
the
movie.
platform as like an aesthetic jumping off point, and
Yeah.
then they create. And I think it works best with stylists like Paul Verhoeven or like whatever the guy who did Scanner Darkly. What's his name?
Linklater.
Yeah, Linklater. Yeah, I mean they're stylists, and so they're able.
But
to,
the style of Philip K. Dick, like every Philip K. Dick book is me starting off being like, "Oh God, you're just describing these stupid clothes," and then halfway through he's like, "I'm a philosopher," and then just writes about philosophy. I'm like, "Thank God we got to this part."
For sure.
So like when the movies are like,
Some
"We'll
of that-
include the dumb clothes,"
Yeah.
fuck you, I don't care.
Exactly. It's like-
Even if you do it
there's
well,
stuff
this is not what I came here
Exactly.
for.
There's stuff that's good and stuff that's bad about PKD, and you know what the good stuff is. And they never put that in the movie.
I don't think you should
Except
ever
for in
watch.
Southland Tales, which is not trying to adapt any kind of anything
I'm
that
gonna
Philip K.
watch
Dick
it. I'm
did,
gonna watch
except
it.
every once in a while they'll throw in a word.
I'm gonna watch it.
All right,
But
yeah,
my
maybe we should
point
stream
was.
it.
I
my
could see you
point-
hating it though.
My point
Trouser
is
Snake is in it, right?
Huh?
Justin Trouser Snake.
Who's Justin?
But the whole
Timberlake.
way,
Timberlake? Yeah, he's amazing.
but the whole way
I call him
this
the
came
thing his
up-
friends call him because I'm disrespectful.
The whole point of this aside is that if they can't even do the content
Right.
of a PKD book, they're
Right.
never gonna touch this shit. It's never gonna
But
be good.
you can imagine it though, can't you?
No,
Like,
I imagine it being bad.
I
Yeah.
can imagine it.
What if it's virtual reality?
What? It's a VR adaptation where you're Severian.
I thought you were.
You don't get to make any decisions. You just are put in Severian's head.
And he's just telling you what you think.
And you're
And
like,
you
no,
follow him
stop,
around.
You're right.
no.
You're
Well,
right.
you
You're right
said
that
it
it will
is
You can
suck.
zip back and forth through
But
the
it
narrative.
could be done
As you
If there was
correctly
money and
pointed out.
effort put into it, it
I-
could be done.
I disagree.
And if
with
Darren
it.
Aronofsky is
We don't
doing
have
it.
to.
Oh fuck no! But what if it was Verhoeven?
That would be insane.
Current date Verhoeven?
Current
Any
date.
of it.
Any Verhoeven
Whichever
we
one
can
we
Can
see.
can
we
get.
use the claw and like bend the time?
I think it would
Can we
be
go
better
back-
if
can we
it
go
was
back to
other guy that I like.
So the thing is,
Who's
they
the guy
can't
who directed
even really
Mother?
adapt like an Ursula Le Guin
That's
thing,
enough.
and she's
I
like
think
pretty
he could do it.
straightforward.
He could do
She
that.
doesn't
That's what I'm
even.
saying. They can't do anything.
Yeah, they can't do
No.
anything.
There's no way
Content
he would.
wise,
Who
it's
fucking
never.
LA is
He
a
would.
fucked up place.
Yeah.
It's
good, though.
it's not good.
I was
We
just
can all
listening to
agree on
Dave
that.
Chappelle talking about that.
About Gene Wolfe.
No, about LA being a
I
fucked up
fucking
place.
wish. I want
Dave
Dave
Chappelle-
Chappelle to read these
Dave
books.
Chappelle would agree with me. Pretty sure. Can we? Go
What, just on every topic?
Wait, let's go to the end.
That's a good.
We haven't
way
even
to
talked
win.
Just imagine that Dave Chappelle's here giving the dap to Kirby.
You're just standing right there, not saying anything.
I heard him say a sexist
Agreeing.
thing where he implied that he didn't think men should give the dap to women.
Dave Chappelle said a sexist thing.
Yeah, he
No, listen, that's it for him. Canceled. He won't work again
I
in
just
this
thought it was a
room.
funny
All right,
sexist
We
thing.
haven't talked
Let's
about the
go to the end.
end.
We're
We
going to
haven't
the
even
end.
talked about the Avern.
Yeah.
Well, let's
He
in
wanted to talk
in
about
next.
Laverne at the battle.
Yeah.
Alright,
We
stop
can-
fucking
we can
around.
loop
We
back
gotta
to
talk
it.
about the end.
Yeah, we gotta.
Because
What's
so
up?
much happens at the end.
What's up
It
with the
is really
sign
cool.
for the inn? What is it? What am I supposed to get from the sign?
Well, it's
what's
the
your
sad
questions?
lady whose lover died in the battle.
She's carrying a bloody
Yeah,
sword.
she's
Yeah.
it's
I feel
like a
that's
symbol
very
of the area.
ambiguous. Like,
She's
Really?
crying
If you wanna
and
s-
carrying a bloody sword.
I mean, you could
The Inn of
do.
Lost Loves.
And I mean, this, in the
It's
margin
the, it's
of
the
the
clientele
sanguinary
at the restaurant. You know, people
Okay, but
after a battle.
They're a scam.
If you want
But
to.
you're
You put down this much of a deposit, but if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
make
yeah.
it back,
I
you
think
don't have to
She
pay
might be the
anymore.
one who.
Yeah, I think that the ambiguity of like, is this, why is she carrying, like, I think if you just want to say she's sad because her lover was killed in battle, you have a bloody shirt, a bloody something. You don't have the bloody sword. Like, she doesn't take away someone else's weapon.
Oh, because being
She
a
gets
bloody
the dinner.
sword implies that it's drawn blood.
Yeah, if she's taking away a sword, it's gonna be her lover's sword.
Maybe she
Right.
pulled it out of him.
Yeah, that's I
Yeah.
think that's an intentional, like, okay, you can
Interesting.
get really quickly, like, she's sad because somebody died at that thing right there, but the fact that she's holding a sword and not anything else.
She wouldn't take
Well, I
the
think it's
opponent's
because
sword.
she's Asia.
Yes, yeah.
You know, she comes and brings people who will then go die, and then she goes back and collects on that free fucking dinner.
Yeah, she's, yeah.
And he even says repeatedly, the owner says repeatedly that he wants people to pay for their dinners before, because then he'll just get free money.
That's how he keeps his prices so low.
Yeah.
And Agia is Kristen Bell from Deadwood, yeah?
Yeah, totally.
It's the same character.
Yeah, I think so.
Everyone is familiar with Kristen Bell in Deadwood?
Haven't seen it.
I watched
She is in
that
2
show
episodes.
when it first came out, but I don't remember.
Oh, it's fantastic. But Kristen Bell plays
watch Kristen
Agia.
Bell in
She
anything.
has a brother that they're lovers, and they go places and like, you know, they go to these frontier towns and pretend to be these little, like, down on their luck orphans, but they're actually like very sophisticated con artists who are using their youth, like, to totally prey on
Oh,
people.
Kristen Bell is cute as a button.
Yeah.
She has
is.
business, like Heidi Klum.
Extra business?
Yeah.
Is that a disease where you're really cute?
That's where you
What is that?
Oh, the eye thing. You were talking about the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Lazy Eye?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's so weird with Kristen Bell because her eyes are so dark that I feel like you can't figure it out unless someone tells you. And then when someone tells you, you're like,
You
oh.
spent a lot of time thinking about Kristen Bell's eyes.
Yeah.
I think a lot.
I do.
Well, I've been
Oh
watching.
my god, we just got back to the
This may be related.
killing me right now.
You got a hot date or something?
No, I just
This may be related. Go ahead.
You gotta swindle somebody out of.
yeah. I
It's
gotta-
on their way to a.
I gotta
an
catch-
appointment.
I got some
You got a
swords.
duel to get to.
What do you want to say about this?
I'm just sad because we talked about all kinds of.
Okay.
The-
We haven't.
in general, the inn is pretty literal, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel
The Inn of
grounded.
Lost Love.
I can navigate through it as a reader.
It's
Like I'm in
just
the
a-
Oh,
scene.
really? I find this to be one of the most confusing parts.
Really?
There's so much
All right,
happens.
well,
I,
much
well, the
happens.
whole
The
Owen
note.
Owen
Yeah.
confused. I didn't get it until
The way
somebody else
that
explained it to
the
me.
way that this, like, I think it actually is kind of simple, but the way that the story is told is weird. Where, like, especially when he's like, "Oh, I need to write a letter," and I'll sit down, and then later, much later, he's like, "Oh yeah, I copied the letter from memory." Like, I don't know. Just the way that the story itself is told is like, like things happen and then they talk about it later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So there's a note under the tray, and Agia at first doesn't seem to care. They're like joking about it, right? They're like flirting, like, "Oh, what could the note say?"
Well, she's like,
Right. She's
Yeah.
trying. I guess
This
I'm
is
reading
also,
it.
I
like-
think she's trying to play it
She's-
down.
Like
She's
she's
trying
getting
to
light
play it
of
down.
it, so he won't.
So that he
yeah.
doesn't
it's kind
notice
of like
it.
a
She's trying to
super,
distract him.
like, it's like kind of like a racy passage. It's
Yeah.
very
Oh, for
racy.
sure. Yeah. He's like, "I am looking."
Horny?
Yeah.
Yes.
Severian Wayne, I'm not a strumpet, whatever you may think.
Yeah, but there is a price.
So okay. So Severian ends up reading it.
If I had a nickel every time I heard that.
It's addressed to Agia or Dorcas.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just jazzing. You know, we're riffing here.
Just jazz.
And okay, And Agia says that she has this premonition. Do we give her any credit for that?
No, she just wants him not to read.
No,
She doesn't want to read.
Yeah, because she's like, I've
She's
never
full of
had a
shit.
premonition before.
Why
and
doesn't-
it's so important.
Okay, all right. Well,
I mean,
why
she's
doesn't
full
she
of
want him?
shit all the time.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she want him to read this note?
Because
Because
she
she doesn't
goes
know what
there
it
all
is.
the fucking time.
She goes
Yeah,
there
doesn't
all
it
the
The
time.
woman has
about
been here
her?
before.
Isn't
She
it like
doesn't
that
know
woman
what it
every woman
says.
has
It could say
been here
anything.
before?
Okay, so it's all okay. So someone's talking to Dorcas through a note.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted Dorcas to read this.
Yeah, but she's
But
afraid
she
it's to
doesn't want
Severian.
Okay,
Yeah,
she doesn't
right.
want, because
She doesn't
some
know what
people
it
write
is, right?
people write these notes in the past.
She
People have
has
written these
no
notes.
idea. Audrey has no idea what it is, but it could mean. It could say anything.
But
And
she
she's
doesn't
there
want to
all
see
the
it.
But it's probably not
I
good
think
enough.
she's
Yeah.
mainly concerned that it's blowing her cover.
Yeah.
Which in fact is.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but not that well. Like the
Yeah.
note
It's
isn't
pretty
blowing her cover
cryptic.
that
Well,
well.
because like
The
as
woman
they
you
go
were
through
here
it,
with
it's
here has been here
fucking
before. Do
dumb.
not
Yeah.
trust her.
It's clear to the reader what the note means immediately, and then
Yeah.
Not to me.
Well, then he thinks Agia had a child, and
yeah,
But,
and then Dorcas is be like, "Duh, dude, it's very clear."
Yeah, Dorcas. If Dorcas got that note, she would have got it immediately. She would have just been like,
she does get it. As soon as
Yeah.
he describes it to her, she's immediately like, "Oh yeah, well that note's clearly for me."
yeah, like I mean, I'll say it again. Dorcas is like one of the smartest people in this book.
I think so.
No, she's the smartest one.
Yeah.
Human anyway.
Which, like, kind of is, in my mind, is like a notch in Gene Wolfe's favor of like maybe he's not actually as misogynist as this like book might suggest.
At the very least, he
trying
loves his
not to be.
grandma.
Trying not to
He's
be.
trying not to.
Trying not to be.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let me. Yeah.
I think part of the secret of this book in terms of gender dynamics is like, yeah, men are shitheels, and you should try to figure out how to recognize that in yourself and try not to do it. You will fail.
Yeah. And but women are kind of scary and like weird.
Right, exactly.
But not
Because
all
to a
of them.
shitheel man,
But not all.
a woman with her shit together is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, not that women are scary before that.
Well,
Before what?
Like before, like he said, like a woman who has her shit together is scary to men. But I mean, like
Oh,
before
before
anyone
women,
has their
okay.
shit together, when you're a child, like women are scary.
How are they? I didn't know that.
I mean,
yeah, mom's scary.
Ryan's scared.
I mean, I feel like it's I don't know, I feel like the Japanese have been really direct about this, and I was so shocked that America never picked up. But like the Japanese sex comedy, I feel like is a almost universal experience with boys. Is that like when you hit puberty and girls start to be horny, it is the most terrifying thing when you like encounter it as a young boy.
Yeah, that's not everybody's experience.
I mean, I feel like you just didn't realize they were horny if you didn't have that experience.
Or maybe you realized they were horny and you liked it.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I felt like the moment I've been waiting for. I've been
Okay.
horny
Yes,
since day
this is
one.
back on topic.
Welcome to my world.
But this is exactly
Yes.
in the book. Like, you know,
Well, so he's not threatened by Dorcas because even though she legitimately is like the smartest person, has her shit together despite all odds, she's physically small.
Yeah, she's
white.
she's
She's devoted to him.
Yeah.
She's devoted.
Yeah, and Agia's got her fucking tits out.
Yeah, and Agia has her tits out,
Already.
but she doesn't know but she's an idiot.
But he becomes terrified of her.
She's not
In
an
book
idiot.
3.
All right.
also,
Right.
Aji's not human.
She's smarter than Severian.
You think Aji is not human?
The mask on her brother. Doesn't that mean? I mean, he brings it up again when he's in the cell with Agilis. I feel like that is Wolf being pretty ham-fisted that they're aliens.
Oh wait, but there's a thing that I actually forgot about that I noted where Agia seems like she's trying to call attention away from Hildegren for some reason. Where he's like, Severian brings up Hildegren and he's like, what about Hildegren? And she's like, what? I don't know, he seems pretty normal,
I
whatever.
think she's just trying to get to the Avern, like
Oh,
ASAP.
Yeah, I think
and
she's trying to get her
She's
big.
like,
Because-
She
stop
has a
getting
plan.
distracted.
None of these people have anything to do with it. They're complicated.
That's how I
her
read
plan.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, because I
everything
definitely
is
noticed that.
getting
Like
in her
she's
way.
so like let's go here. Come on, Severian, come on. She's always like walking ahead, like, come on, come on.
He's like a little.
We gotta go to the
fucking-
Abbey.
So it's not specific
Baby.
to
Like,
you've been here
Hildegard, it's just like, oh, he's another obstacle, let's get by.
It could be though,
Well, at one
because
point I
if
thought
she's
that she
been
was
there
like,
so
fuck.
many times, then she does know Hildegard,
Only
right?
So I'm kind of wondering.
Yeah, but I don't know how often she's actually trying to fuck him.
When she keeps trying to get them to go to the Garden of Delectation.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that
Because
that's.
that part I was like, oh, she's gonna fuck him and make them.
Yeah, exactly. She's,
Exactly.
It's a power play.
And she's always like acts like, oh, my like bodice has fallen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which,
Yes,
which
I
is
just
what
got
a
one
weird
with one
technique. What a
fucking
strange
working
thing.
now.
Yeah, of course it does. Of course that
Complains
works.
about it all the time. Like that she doesn't. She's not like, oh no. She's like, this sucks. Like, I hate having to show my boob all the time.
Please don't look at it.
yeah. Don't look.
Don't look.
Stop it.
She's brilliant.
Yeah. I don't think she's dumb.
She's
I
got
good at
this
what she
thing
does.
down
She's
pat.
twice as smart as Severian.
Definitely, yeah.
And she has this game down. Like,
Well,
she
'cause-
knows how it's supposed to work, and she doesn't want any complications from some like fat idiot gravedigger.
The only thing that fucks her up is Jesus Christ turning back time.
True. She's got it in the fucking bag.
Yeah.
Till he,
She would have
he
had that
comes, all of
fucking
a
big
sudden
ass
he's-
sword.
All of a sudden he's fucking undead.
She picked the wrong rube.
That's right.
But wait, am I the only person that thinks that they're definitely aliens?
We talked about it before.
We talked about it
Right,
before.
and
it
when
seems-
I read this chapter in the cell where he goes, I thought I saw a little ribbon on his face. Where did I see that
Yeah.
before? And then he says it again in
He
that
says
same
it
chapter.
again.
See, I just mostly think of Agilus being an alien, and I've never really thought about.
Well,
They
so
look exactly the same.
my
Sure.
So an alien came and like
No.
found an Earth girl, and they're like, "Whoa, we look the same. Let's do
I
cons."
don't know.
No,
I've never
no,
thought-
but he's
wear a
always
mask.
Oh, he's
wearing
always
masks.
wears masks.
Oh, but
So
and so she doesn't.
he's like has a mask.
He has a
that
mask
makes
to look
him
like her to be
never-
her brother.
Yeah, he
never
never
mentions
mentions
that
that
she
she's
has
wearing a
ribbons.
mask.
That's true.
However,
Okay,
I
okay.
was thinking that's because
But I
he
don't
was
know.
looking at her tits so much that he didn't notice she had a ribbon.
Could be.
Could be.
I don't know. She becomes the new
I think she could
vocalist.
also have, like, long
like
hair.
I feel like she is
Yeah.
of Earth because she has a place in the new in Ushas.
Okay, well
You
that's
know?
that's more exciting.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so he's like, okay, we're supposed to be brother and sister. Let me make a replica of your face and put it on.
Yeah.
But really, she's fucking this alien.
Or something.
She's in
Do they
with
fuck?
it. She's-
I thought that was heavily
the dude, Agilus
implied.
says everything you think is true is.
Oh, okay.
Agilus like says is very like because she's naked when he goes in the cell. Why is
Yeah, they're
she
naked together.
She's not imprisoned.
I don't know what brothers and sisters are like.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
you don't.
Connor's
You
an
You
don't.
an only child?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's only. I mean,
Does that disturb you?
Well, there's so few of you.
Oh, thank you.
brothers
And you're
sisters
Catholic
aren't like
too,
that.
aren't you?
Just twins.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really extraordinary.
Yeah.
I got it all.
how many-
And my
how many
father's dead. And I'm Irish.
Well, I'm not.
So here's a question
Irish
I
boys
have
and
about
mothers.
the inn. If
Oh,
we could
the
take
inn.
for pretty much granted that Dorcas recognizes in some way the kinship with Severian, like like whether consciously or not, she's like drawn to him because of this familial tie. Why does she not notice Owen in any way when he's up in there? It was her
is
direct
is
son.
when,
That's her
That's
son.
when
good
he
point.
comes in, she's getting washed, right?
Oh, is she behind the
Oh yeah,
screen?
she's not there. That's why the
He comes in
notes
a bunch
left.
of times though, right?
Oh.
And
Oh,
he,
yeah, no.
because he's seen her
Yeah.
enough to
Yeah.
be like, you look exactly like my mom. So why would she not have noticed him if she's like, I don't know.
Good point.
This is
I know,
not gonna
he
be
runs
satisfying,
away.
But I guess the difference is like that little servant boy over there and the guy who's pulling you out of the water. You know, like that guy, he's running around doing that thing.
Oh, and
But as far as
one of
she
them
knows,
is
she
Jesus
pulled
Christ.
him out of the water.
I mean, obviously there's character differences,
I mean,
but I just find
he's
it
the
a
first
little bit
thing
weird that
she
she
knows.
wouldn't like
She spent time.
have
Like a
any
baby
like
duck.
flag.
She might
about
not have liked him.
Because she
when
seems
he
to
did
like
it,
know
but after 20 seconds.
way more than a lot of the other characters know, just in general. She's like way more in tune with things
Yeah.
than
Well,
a lot of
I'd have to
other
go back and
wives.
check the details of
Why
this, but
doesn't she
I
notice her own fucking son? Is what I'm saying. Like,
because her own fucking son isn't the new son.
New son.
You know, like Severian is helped by the fact that he is the savior of the world, to a degree in this. I think.
of course.
It can't
but
be.
Owen
Can't be
is
his
in here
son.
briefly, drops
Can't
off
be
a
her
note,
son.
and runs out of the store.
How she died 40 years ago, right?
What Owen is her son?
Rowan's her son and Severian's dad.
Owen is.
But he's like this stable boy, right?
How old is
wait,
Owen?
he's
Yeah. Right, Owen.
I think Owen's old.
Dorcas is okay.
Yeah, I guess stable boy doesn't necessarily have to be a boy.
Yeah. Okay.
And Severian's
Buzz
mom,
boy
and I don't know
with
why, but
station.
Severian's mom is
Door
the
guy.
maid who plays Catherine, and she lives outside of time.
Right.
In the atrium of time,
Right.
ostensibly.
That's what they say.
It's all just very odd, for lack of a better word.
This book, no way.
Something's fishy with this story.
This is as straightforward as Danielle Steele.
I'm detecting something real weird.
I haven't been to Brazil, but I don't think it's like this.
Let's
say
say,
cynephilises.
let's say you met your dead mother in a restaurant.
Yes, let's.
Would you just
Write her a note.
and then never talk to her again?
If I met my dead father in a restaurant, I would leave a note and run away, sure.
No, but if you knew for a fact that the person one of the people she was there with was a trifling ass bitch,
And the other one was a fucking torturer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
you'd slip a little note.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're like, fuck, I can't talk to her.
Yeah, maybe because there's a torturer there.
She's
He
with
feels like he
scary
can't
He's
be like.
intimidated.
Also, he clearly is not certain. He doesn't think this is my mom. He's like,
You
My
look
mom-
you
more
look
like
exactly like my mom.
Born.
Yeah, so
You are
maybe,
like my
maybe
mother.
he
Yeah.
feels.
Because if I were to, in real life, see my dead dad out someplace, I wouldn't be like,
wouldn't be
oh,
like-
this is my dad.
Yeah.
No matter how much it was exactly, even if the person came up and was like, I am your dad, I would not
Right.
think,
No,
Right.
yes,
you're a
you
replica.
are.
Yeah. You would go through several stages of
Like
Thinking
two-step
about
off.
yeah.
This reminds me of a prank I wanted to play
I'm
on
gonna
you.
text.
Oh, boy.
But I
Tell me
can't.
what the numbers are.
We have other stuff to talk about.
All right,
I'll play
yeah.
you later.
Well, just play it on me sometime. My birthday's coming up on Monday.
No
Thank
shit.
you.
Do it. I'm
Thank
in.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll talk it out and see if we can
8.
play this prank.
Is there anything anyone wants to say about the inn
Oh, there's so
before
much
we go to
say
the
about
battle?
It seems pretty tight, the inn. I'd like to go there.
You want to go there?
I'd like
It's
to
a
climb up the
tree.
tree.
Oh yeah, I totally want to
Yes,
hang out.
It is so good. I feel like
Have
if
you ever been
the
to the Feather
Dragonlance
Nest?
people read this.
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I've heard of the.
Well,
Have you been there?
Yeah.
I've heard of the
Probably
Feather
written
Nest.
just a couple
If
of
you
years
like
after.
like this
85.
idea.
Yeah. So
No,
like,
I don't know
Yeah,
what I'm
that,
talking
about.
End
If you like
end of the
ideas.
last.
If you like ideas,
Exactly.
There's another one.
Google Feather Nest.
I
That's
totally
all it
think
is.
it's a big
It's
That's all.
in New
Definitely,
Jersey.
That like has a bit of
It's a-
that
It's
it's
one of
a-
those
it's
like
a-
themed
it's a-
hotels.
it's a
It's like the
theme.
theme
Yeah,
set.
It feels exactly
you're
like
like
the
a
Easy
basic
I
Epic
saw a
Cuisine.
coupon
That's
for
a-
a sex
You can-
hotel.
what?
It's a themed
You can
sex
have-
motel
you can be
off
a
of the
caveman
highway
that
in
has
New
It's like the
sex.
Jersey.
At this
caveman
hotel.
or the medieval.
What? Where the hell did this conversation go?
I
Well,
missed
the-
something.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I got a coupon
There's
for
a-
a sex hotel.
There's a
You're
No,
going to
I
sex
didn't buy
hotels?
it. I received an offer for one.
There's-
And it has all neon walls and heart shaped. And then there's a
So-
champagne.
so at the
Is it Towsonese?
so
It is, in fact, it is not. It's
The
like
hot tub that is in the shape of a wine glass.
yes.
Where
a
is it?
champagne Glass.
but the
Yes.
That's what we
at
should
the
do our
Feather
next
Nest though.
episode.
It's like in Western Maryland, maybe.
There's
I
no
know.
At the Feather Nest in New Jersey,
But there's
the
horrible
rooms
Yelp
are
reviews.
more nature themed.
No.
So there,
The Feather
so
Nest?
there's like
Feather
Feather
Nest.
Nest. So there's certain rooms where the hotel room is like trees
The
and
website
like
is
leaves.
so good.
The Feather Nest.
Yeah,
Feather Nest.
check out the
If
website.
you guys
You
have
know,
done
I'm
that?
gonna put it on my
If
list.
you
I've never
like
been there,
this,
but I've just looked at the
Google
website
it.
a lot.
If you like this
Write
book,
it down.
Google the Feather Nest Hotel.
No, if you
The
like
Feather Nest-
the
oh,
Blah,
yeah.
blah.
The tree.
yes, if you like the botanical gardens, the Feather Nest is the closest thing to the botanical gardens.
Noted. Thank you. It's on my list.
Every room is a different
There's a
weird
cave.
thing.
I want to go.
I want to go.
See,
I
y'all are
hope
talking
so.
about sex hotels. Connor and I are just talking about Dragonland.
Yeah, we're talking about Dragonlance.
Yeah. And we're talking about sex, the classic Chad versus.
In fairness, you don't have to have sex at a sex hotel. You can do whatever you want. You can read a book.
You can read a book.
I mean, that's like
Yeah, but I'm reading a nice thing.
Reading is sexy.
it's like going to the pool and just taking a shower.
Where do you take your showers? At home?
Filthy.
Oh, wait.
Disgusting.
I have a quote that I think is really important at the end of this chapter.
Oh,
Of this
it's
Oh, it's
great.
from this book.
Oh, interesting.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Severian, we met this morning. I hardly knew you, and you hardly know me. What the fuck is that? That is a very weird way to phrase that.
Who's saying it?
Aji,
Yeah.
I hardly knew you, and you hardly know me.
Yeah.
It's I hardly know you and you hardly know me, or I hardly knew you and you hardly knew me when we met.
But she knows him.
No,
She
she's
knows
like,
him
I
now.
fucking got your number.
Yeah. Or at
And
least
you
she
don't know
thinks she
what the
does.
fuck yeah.
I don't
but
think that Ajia does have his number.
No, but that's what she
She
thinks.
thinks-
Yeah, I think that Ajia is really full of herself and doesn't realize that she's fighting
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Obviously.
She's trying to wriggle out of this situation with words right now.
Yeah.
Really.
Like,
Like,
Oh, there was one
way.
point where she mentions the theoanthropos. And I was like, you're talking to him, lady. And it made me really happy.
What is Senate?
Huh?
Yeah.
Senate? Why is this chapter
I was
called
wondering
Senate?
what Senate
You know
is
what?
too.
Is that like a meat
It
thing, a
sounds like
butcher thing?
Yeah. It sounds
That's
like
suet.
that.
Suet. No,
Or
that's
rennet.
a bird
You're
feed.
thinking rennet.
Like-
It's a-
Senate.
Oh, Rennett's what they make
cheese
cheese out of.
byproduct. Yeah.
Do you want to know what it is?
Yes.
I'll tell you.
I want to know about it from the
Okay.
It's not
lexicon.
a cheese byproduct.
In the stage directions of Elizabethan plays, a call on a trumpet or cornet to signal the ceremonial entrance or exit of an actor.
Yeah, the trumpet flourish used to cue an actor.
So that seems, you know, that could mean one or two
So
things.
why would the chapter be called that?
Well, they do sound the trumpet.
Oh,
They
good,
actually talk
yeah.
about the trumpets in that
That's
chapter,
what it
right?
ends with.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the very
Yep.
last thing.
Yep. And they talk about the trumpets on the wall. Is this where they discuss the wall, or is that the next chapter?
Oh, and this is the legendary cock block.
Oh, it was later they talk about that.
I'm sorry to have
At
taken
the-
your joy
yeah.
from you, sirs. I would not have deprived you.
I'm
Sit
sorry
down.
to have
I love
taken
you.
your joy from you.
And then, of course, who's the next person to
I'm
fuck him?
sorry to have taken your joy.
What?
And then who's the next person to fuck him? The person who laid that awesome line on him.
So it's a successful.
That's
cock
what he's.
block
I
and
think
turn.
that's what he's
Yeah.
saying.
She not only just like cock blocked and got with him, but she also got him to fuck his own grandma. That's,
She doesn't. Does she? She doesn't know.
no, she doesn't know.
It'd be impossible for her.
She's mistaking her familial love.
Because of the conversation that we've had here, I think there's a part of her that knows.
Which part of her?
Deepest part.
the loins.
Fire world.
The deepest part.
The loins, the parts that's fucking.
the back wall.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That's what we're talking about.
I had to. You put it on a tee. I had to.
That's remarkably true.
I had to.
Okay, so in this chapter,
Remarkably.
Severian's
He is
looking,
very tall.
Severian's looking for Trudeau. Is
And what
that
does
his
that mean
name?
to you?
Trudeau. And
Daddy.
Dog's name.
Wait, we're talking about the
We've got
chapter
Rusty
called
Burks out
Senate.
there, but they're the
Senate,
exception that
yeah.
proves the rule.
Alright.
Okay, and
Who's
so
that over here
so
trying to talk about
the cook guy is like talking about Trudeau, which by the way, that part is interesting because he's like, "Do you know anyone named Trudeau?" And he's like, "No." I know. I once.
guy and that guy.
He's like, I once had a neighbor. He's like, no, I don't know anyone named Trudeau. Well, I once had a neighbor named Trudeau, and then yeah, like the guy working here. Is named Trudeau. It's like what you had to go through, but that's not what I'm talking about. So okay, so after that, he's describing Trudeau to Severian. He's like, he's from the South, so you know you're not going to understand him. He's probably pretty dumb. And Severian is like, I bet I know where he's from. How does Severian know where he's from? Like, what the hell? Like, Severian says, if you're using this version on 161,
Right.
I suspect I know what part of the city he comes from. What? Where is Severian getting this knowledge?
Oh! I have a theory.
Yeah.
Just from the guy saying like he's from the South. I think that, and someone earlier was talking to Severian about the parts. I think it was Roche. Was talking about the parts of the city that are dead to the south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that
People
he's
are-
trying to
Oh,
say
I
like,
thought-
oh yeah, no, people are talking to me about other parts of the city. I
That's
know about
funny.
other parts of the city. Don't
Yeah.
you worry about me.
Because that's what I thought about when I read that, so I didn't even consider. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
He says
The
the
things that
people
happen
in
in
the
the
South
South.
eat raw flesh because they're afraid to light fires. That's the thing I think we learned about the people in the South, right?
Right.
Is that I mean that's
Yeah,
true?
they can't light fires because of bandits. And
My hell.
That's the whole thing you were talking
Your
about.
hell.
I know. It's my punishment for the back walls joke.
You know
It's a
what?
misuse my
No
That's,
punishment
that's
is
the
great
beginning
enough.
of the punishment for the back.
It's a funny phrase.
This table is just
Very silly.
wine soaked generally. Like, I don't think it matters. Just let
Like
it
a wine
dry.
table.
We try to keep things clean.
Well, because
That's all.
I think that the fact that I'm slowly reading the later books while I'm reading this is like warping my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was like thinking about how later when like Dorcas kind of like ventures off on her own and she goes into the South and finds all this shit. Like
Yeah.
that's like what this recalled to my mind. Is I was thinking like, oh yeah, and Severian knows about like that shit that happens there, even though I had read that like a month ago.
But the Severian who's writing this
knows
does
about
know about
it.
that shit.
Yeah. So maybe it's like
So
the
when
perfect way
Severian's
to
writing
read
all
it.
this, he knows that
Yeah, of
Dorcas
course.
is his grandmother.
And he also is Thecla.
Yeah, yeah,
Thecla
but you can
is-
tell right from page 1.
But
Yeah.
Thecla wouldn't know about the stuff in the
No,
South.
I was just adding that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another thing where you.
That we should always
But
remember.
he's
I think
also,
about
but
it
he's
a lot,
also
actually.
everyone all the time at this point. So
But really, Thecla,
Not like he's like that.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
I think about that a lot, actually, that Thecla is like in his mind while he's writing this.
Yeah, because when he's talking about like, oh, I love Thecla so much. Can I talk to you about Thecla again? Hey, did I ever talk to you about Thecla?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
you
like-
keep talking about Thecla.
Yeah, that's really funny because he says there's one part where he's like, I started telling Ajay about Thecla, and then he keeps going, and he doesn't tell us what he was telling about her. And I remember I like wrote
like-
down, I was like, well, what
whole
what
parts
would you
where-
say?
He
The
talks
part-
about it a little bit.
Yeah, the whole part where he's talking about the fish
Yeah,
and
that's-
his friend.
Yeah, and that's later.
He's just talking.
Oh, when he's like, I was just walking along telling that story to
and
myself.
Ajay is like ahead of him, and he's just
Yeah.
like, and then Thecla said this, and then Thecla was
Yeah.
like this, but she's
Yeah.
just like, what?
And she
Okay.
totally does the thing where he's like, did I tell you about like Mr.
Yeah,
Memory?
he's
It was
like,
like,
yeah, you
did I
just
tell you
keep-
about Thecla? And she's like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
you
fucking
just
thing
won't
you always
stop
talk about.
fucking talking about Thecla, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep underlining parts where he said, speaking of that, I keep underlining parts where he, like, talks about his memory, because he's always just saying, like,
Yeah.
bad things. Like, he's always saying things, like, that are basically like, I have a perfect memory, but my recall's pretty bad. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
yeah,
he's like, I gotta go to one
He's
moment and
gotta
then go
dig
like backwards
for
and
it.
forwards.
I
Oh, it
wrote
takes me a long time, but I always
wrote
remember.
I said what I wrote this at the top of this page. What is the point of perfect memory if your recall is shit? Because he'll say like, and I tried to recall where I had seen such a thing before. Like he just like does this all the time.
Well,
He's
like, the
I'm
part-
trying to call up this thing.
There's a part later in like this sessions reading where Dorcas is like, he's talking to Dorcas and he's like, yes, I remember everything, you know, except for like the past 24 hours, of course, because he was like,
Yeah. He just keeps doing that.
Who here has read? Has anybody here read I, Claudius?
Yeah.
No.
It's awesome. It's so funny.
And isn't it kind of part of the whole thing with I, Claudius that like everybody thinks that Claudius is has a mental disability?
Yeah, everyone thinks he's retarded.
And I kind of think that's part of it, is that Severian keeps harping on this to be like, I'm so smart. Because
Yeah.
the person who was his spiritual predecessor, like, was a club-footed person that nobody, like, everybody wrote him off and was like, you're nothing. But he fell backwards into being the king of the world and was a great historian, it turns out. So I think there's a part of that to there.
Isn't that Flowers for Algernon too? The guy's like reading his memories.
I played Charlie in Flowers for
Isn't
Algernon
that
my
what it
senior
is?
year of high school. And, yeah, the guy gets drugged into being
Okay.
a genius, and then it all falls apart, and he
it
becomes
slowly
even
goes away.
stupider than before. And he cries about the mouse.
Okay.
I did a character study of a child in my school that had Down syndrome, and when his mother came to the play, she wept horribly. I was really proud
Like
of
in a,
myself.
in
you're like a
good way.
regular Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's right, I'm fucking Daniel Day-Lewis!
You're fucking Daniel Day. I wonder what role he's preparing for.
Yes.
He's not gonna act anymore, he's given up acting.
Oh right, yeah, he's done that.
Oh man.
It's just for fun now. Personal and like.
You don't think he'll get bored and be like,
No,
I
but
really
he
need to
didn't
be
fi-
someone else for a while.
Did he do
you
Phantom
really
Thread
gotta accept
after his retirement?
I think that was the last of it.
Okay. All right.
And I think most people do, but Philip Roth made it stick, so maybe he will too.
Wait, what?
Philip Roth is like the one person I can think of who said they were retiring
And then actually
retired,
fucking
yeah.
retired.
Like not
And then
straight
actually
up.
did it?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Rick
I don't
Moranis.
need.
Yeah, Rick
Oh
Moranis.
yeah, Rick Moranis
Didn't his
totally.
wife
I thought,
die?
yeah, it was like his
Is that
wife
what?
died. He needed to
Okay.
raise
I need
his
to
kids.
raise
He's
his
coming
kids.
back a little.
He had a
bit.
life-changing
Oh, is
experience.
he?
Yeah, I've heard.
Really?
I haven't
It's
seen
easy
the
to
movie.
raise his
I don't
kids.
think
They,
that
like,
he
the
is.
fit-
Stop.
He wouldn't do
Shut
Ghostbusters 3.
Nobody wants to do Ghostbusters.
He wouldn't do Ghostbusters 3.
Let's go kick
Nobody
it in.
I would do it. They should ask me. I would do it, and I would make it fucking good.
Okay.
How could you say that your show is not watchable?
I haven't watched it.
It's only unwatchable because nobody's watched it. That's
That's what makes sense.
No,
Well, the
11
thing is
people
when
watch
that-
it every time.
When that awful HBO adaptation of this comes out, like people are gonna like start googling, and we'll be the
Dig
only
it up.
fucking thing on YouTube, you know?
No,
Yeah.
oh, maybe on
For
YouTube.
them.
Except for Malk Aramini doing one-handed push-ups on short notice.
sorry, Mark.
No, thank you.
He won't make it this far into this episode. It's
I
fine.
know.
We've called him out on almost every single episode.
Mark Aramini?
There's been a joke about Mark Aramini on every single episode.
Mark.
Wide
So
joke
watch
about-
them all. So you gotta watch them
Yeah, I
all.
hope you've gotten this far, Mark.
He is on YouTube doing one-handed push-ups on short notice.
On short
That's
notice.
not an insult. That is fact.
I don't think any of us
Something
can
he
do
did.
a one-handed
pointing
push-up.
On
I
short
can.
notice.
I always wanted to do an
I
act
got
where
really-
it was
I got really
like
close
making a
once.
big deal about that I was going to do one-handed push-ups, and then just as soon as I
There's no big on
tried,
the
they
YouTube
would wheel me
video.
off stage.
There's no big on the
As soon as you do
video.
you should get up.
Exactly, they'd be like, ah! And then they'd roll me off.
I
Wait,
think I can do one. I think I can do one.
this guy's doing one-handed
On
push-ups.
short,
short
so his
notice.
YouTube channel
On short
is
notice.
all Gene Wolfe stuff, and then there's like one video of him doing one-handed push-ups on short notice. I love it so
What
much.
is it? Does somebody
That-
walk
that
into a
makes
room and be like, hey
complete
Mark,
sense.
can you do one-handed push-up?
Somebody
Can I?
No,
Hold on.
No, it's better yet. Somebody challenged him in the comments.
From the comments I've read of him, he seems like a douche.
I
Like,
love it so much.
Makes
He's,
sense.
Actually,
he's an
that's my
academic. He's a
fucking
professor,
husband.
and
He's
this is
actually
what he's got. You know?
professor. He's
Yeah,
actually-
yeah. He's
And
a
this is his
college
thing.
professor.
Oh, he's a professor.
You could still be a douche and a professor. And
I bet.
No, sometimes
You know
being
what?
a professor
Lots of
makes you into a
professors who
douche.
are
I
douches.
I bet he's an adjunct professor.
there's a. We're
I
all
don't know.
adjunct
That's
professors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
There
Are
will
we?
be nothing
Even
but
me.
adjunct professors.
Even me.
That is very true. Anyway,
Yeah, so Fred
I'll save my other comments for next episode.
Sorry.
Okay,
True
good.
Fred
I
Lazarus.
think we should call out Fred Lazarus on
This
one of the
is-
episodes.
wait a
too.
minute.
Who's
I
that?
want to say.
My former boss.
He used to run Micah. He's like a fucking millionaire.
He's
Bajillion.
awful. He's a part of the Toys R Us family, though, so
Oh,
I don't know
shit.
how well they're doing
Oh,
right
no.
now.
Wait, but why do you want to call him out? Does he like Gene Wolfe?
He sucks. He's a lizard person.
Oh my god.
There was a
That
reason
likes
I
Gene
don't
Wolfe?
remember.
No, definitely not. He's
I don't want to talk about him if you
Well,
don't
we
think
were
you're
talking
close.
about one-handed.
I want to stay on topic.
I want to go. I want to go on the record.
So that's why.
I'll go back.
I
on
want to
topic.
go on the
Yeah.
record for a moment to say that I
probably
think
what I
that
said.
this
Seems
reading
invested.
session
I've got
was the. I think
my
that this
ally.
section that we read for this session has a lot of information. I think it's very interesting and very fucking weird. And this is the one that we're treating light.
I would
barely
say,
getting
as
through
someone
this.
who
What time
is
is it?
reading it for the first time,
We've been doing this for over 2 hours
yeah,
now.
my
Yeah.
estimation.
This
Yeah,
is good.
that like this.
All right,
There's a
what
lot.
else?
This
I
next
think there's a
chapter
lot
is
of
when we get to talk about a
information.
cute thing that Gene Wolfe did where he encoded all of his friends' names into the book.
What?
Yeah, all the people that they
he is so
call to come fight, like
Oh.
Cadra of the 17 Stones.
Oh,
Like,
cute.
that is, like, it's all other science fiction writers that he's friends with.
Oh.
Oh, I did wonder
He
why
is
does
so
it
cute
end?
for a man.
What?
Oh,
For
because
a
she's.
walrus
For
man.
a man.
I thought that she's the one who comes in because then Dorcas mentions later, like, and then a woman came in and started hitting.
What are you talking about?
Laurentia of the House of the Harp. It's funny.
Yeah.
I was wondering why that's the last word. Wait, so she
Well,
comes
when
in the next chapter?
Dorcas explains what happened
It's
during that
168.
weird time later. She like lays it all out.
Okay.
So whose names? Who were his
Yeah.
friends? Who were Cadro and Sabas and Laurentia?
I forget, I'd have to look it up on the damn internet.
I want to know who Laurentia is.
I mean, I read it someplace in
That's so
the
cute.
Earth letters.
When I finally write my book, I'll put all of your names in it.
Yeah, you better.
In the Earth mailing list stuff, so I'd have to go through decades of shit
Decades.
to find it.
Decades?
I think that email list has been going on for
Holy shit.
decades.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit.
Well,
You're on
because
it, right?
It's from
I'm not
like-
on it, but I've looked on it.
It's from
Oh,
like
I
when
get
it
the
was
digest.
just like what isn't it from before when it was just like weird dial-up shit and like
Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
like
Holy
Definitely
shit.
started. back
an
then.
alt list
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I needed it for. I feel like for the next two. Like I was so glad I had it for that last one, Short Sun. There's a lot of stuff about Short Sun where I was like, "Oh, this is something, but I don't know what. And then
Oh, I looked at it a fair amount with Short Sun too.
Yeah.
Jerusi just came out
Or,
this
no,
past
Long
year
Sun
with
Fest.
a lexicon for long and short sun.
Oh, goody.
Yeah.
oh cool.
but it
I
focuses
haven't
mostly
actually
on
read
names.
The Short Sun yet.
Short Sun's my favorite one.
I have it, but I haven't read it yet.
That's so sweet.
Love Short Sun. Short Sun's the one that is sentimental and makes me cry.
You want a short sun. You don't want sun to go on too long. You want Sorry.
Short Sun's what we got, coincidentally.
Let's go back to the book. So
Is he dead?
now we're
he?
at the sanguinary fields.
The
And that's
ruddy
pretty cool.
field.
Is he dead?
And then he waxes philosophical at the beginning of this one too.
When does he not?
Well, he
That's
doesn't
like the
always.
first part of every chapter.
Well,
He just
no, he doesn't
pontificates
always.
a little bit.
He doesn't always do that right at the beginning of a chapter.
That's
He
why
just does,
the
like, two
you
in a
know,
row.
A lot of
read
times,
peace,
though.
because that's all peace is. It's just writing like that.
Peace?
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get into Peace,
He's
and
not-
everybody
he's
says
a
it's his
dope.
best thing.
I mean, it's a gorgeous book.
Maybe I'll find a PDF of it and read it at work.
I have a beautiful copy.
Cool.
You can borrow it if you want.
I would love.
What's beautiful
I
about
love
it?
borrowing books.
What's so
Uh,
beautiful about it?
The design of the cover, I guess.
Is it the one with the skulls on it around the word piece? Which one is it?
It's a masterpiece edition.
Can you
I mean,
got a-
I'm not
it's got a big
discounting
tree
it,
on
but
the
it's not the
front.
one I know.
can you say that
That's not my opinion.
in words what the cover looks like?
It's got a big, beautiful tree on
Is it
it, and it's a
holographic?
fucking fantastic shade of green.
I think green's my favorite color.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
I changed mine to green from yellow recently.
Yes.
Really?
Yellow's the most evil color.
Mine was
No.
yellow.
Oh,
Now
sorry,
it's
Jen.
green.
Jen's so
Yellow.
upset.
Yellow.
Well, it's not.
That's
I don't identify
a
with that
bold.
person anymore.
I
What
only
colors
know
are in
one
this
other
chapter of the
person
book?
Who has said
Red,
that yellow is
mainly.
their favorite color?
I've given
Yeah.
Poe's favorite color?
Dina
Van
Kellerman
Gogh's
is the only
favorite
other
Sit
person.
here.
color? Oh well, Dina. Yeah, there's like a whole
Well, I can, now
there's
my
a body
screen,
of work
so.
about yellow as the color of insanity.
Yellow wallpaper.
King in yellow.
Yeah, King and yellow wallpaper. Like,
Damn.
It is all of Van Gogh shit. Like,
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I think yellow is a horribly evil color. I don't like
I
it.
think
I
it's
think we just don't understand it.
Yeah, that's what's
What
evil
is
about it.
sanity in an
Yeah.
insane world?
Same
It's
with
the
it.
color of our sun. Come on. It's like
Fuck the sun.
Potato
Which we
chips.
can't look at.
Potato chips are yellow.
There you go. They're
Wait.
kind of a
It
tan.
hurts you if you look at it.
So we're at
Yellowish.
the
They're white.
sanguinary fields.
Yes, we
there
are.
we are. On page
Is he dead?
164. Is he dead?
Is he dead?
Is he?
That's from a Wu-Tang song. I'm sorry.
That's
I thought I was
yeah.
cool.
This
Apologies. sir.
Gene Wolfe is referencing Wu-Tang.
Yeah, he is.
Before
Wu-Tang,
Wu-Tang
yeah.
happened.
Well, Gene Wolfe clearly doesn't think that time only causes things in the future, So he could
Oh,
have been.
I think it's that Wu-Tang is a big fan of Gene Wolfe.
Yeah, well, they're super into kung fu movies. Why
Exactly.
wouldn't they also be into obscure science fiction?
Exactly.
Is he dead? What do you mean? Is he fucking dead? All kinds of fucking blood coming
What do you mean is he fucking
That's
dead?
out. You know that skit.
An interesting name.
This is really.
I can't believe we went.
This is really.
I can't. Have you heard how much we've been giggling?
Have you heard
having a
how much
great
he
time.
The
said
problem
that
is I didn't get really stoned before this one.
Neither did I.
I had play
This is the
rehearsal and
first
didn't get to
time.
get stoned
The first
before.
time I haven't gotten super stoned.
It was a
Yeah.
mistake.
Me neither.
I
No,
can't
I love it.
concentrate.
Is that
I
what's
love
happening?
You guys were
Yeah.
undermining
Smoke
our
weed
academic
next time.
seriousness here.
Can we get Lucas to come by? I need.
No, I don't know who that is.
This is the
Don't say his name on the internet.
He's the kind of.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
when they're going to be no, never mind. I'm
you
gonna
know,
get
is he
way
dead?
more
Is he
off
dead?
track. Is he dead?
How many chapters do we have
Is
left?
he or isn't he dead? So this is cool. Like let's talk about
Yeah, where's the
let's
close?
talk about this.
Please.
The name of the chapter.
Is a Wu-Tang.
And now we've looped back around.
Oh, do you think that the Wu-Tang like Gene Wolfe, or do you think Gene Wolfe likes Wu-Tang? Both.
I do both. I think they both have a.
Gene Wolfe does not like Wu-Tang.
He's never even heard of
Can we
Wu-Tang.
DM
Is this
that
you
guy?
saying that this is
I am
like
not
the
going to
saying-
DM his elderly medical doctor neighbor.
Wu-Tang has not read Robert Graves.
I have two things to say. One, this
They about Wu-Tang.
the title of this chapter, it
Is
is
he
calling
dead?
attention to the fact that Severian died, because no one ever asked the question, did he die? Is he dead? No, wait, maybe they do.
Maybe they
Second,
do.
I want to
Dorcas
say
probably did.
that I really appreciate this
No.
group, and I really value all of your opinions, and that this is a very fun, wonderful addition to my life.
Oh,
I
yay!
thought there was going to be a bot like you did with Philip K. Dick. I thought so too. So Jordan, let me say we appreciate you as well, and you're a wonderful addition to our lives.
Yeah.
And we do actually talk about the book, and I
We do.
learn things.
We do
Yeah.
sometimes talk about the
Yeah.
I
We're
am
not
learning.
total goofballs.
Somewhere in all this, I am learning right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
that
this is the
we're
most
getting
watchable
something.
episode yet.
might be. It might
I
be.
really
yeah.
do.
Right. We've definitely
The last one was really hard to watch because they did it all with that handheld webcam.
yeah,
Really?
Like
It
they
was
filmed
like
it through the
pointing around.
glass at like a like a carry-out place.
It's
that has the bulletproof
it's
shit.
rough. It's really rough.
It's really weird.
Someday we'll have money and have real cameras.
We'll have money next year. Mark my words.
This-
we'll have money next
this
year.
could-
Mark
Like in
our money,
2020.
give us money.
This could be good if there were
Mushroom
like
Kingdom.
2 cameras and someone working them.
That's the payday.
I know that's a lot. I know
how
that's
we're
not
gonna
the
fund space
situation.
shows.
I'm saying this
Mushroom
could be good if that was the situation.
It would be hard to find a
Just saying.
person to
If it was
win.
just 2 static cameras, then I could flip
people
between
are gonna be
them.
psyched.
Make
Gotta
it-
find my.
Would you do that?
I
while,
Wait, is Lincoln
could do
out?
that. We could do that
But-
for the next one.
Yeah,
but wouldn't
we
that
make
be a
the
drag?
same
We need
videos.
someone
He's a-
working
like
him,
a
though.
Hillian or something.
Who's-
Wait, hold on. Let's finish 2 more chapters, and then we can talk about the
Okay.
production of the show.
We'll do that off stream.
Yeah. It's not your show.
So I love the like description of the duel and how like it's so vague and weird, and then Dorcas comes back to explain to us what actually happened later.
He
and
killed
that's
you
cool.
instantly.
Yeah, like
he died right away.
He's like it basically like happened in like 20 seconds. You got hypnotized, like, but it's all there. Like he describes it accurately, but it's just weird. And then
Does anyone have a good breakdown of what occurs with the Avern like during the fight?
Oh
Like-
yeah, I mean it's slowly like getting warmed up by his hand and being like, "Who is this?"
And it
it
turns
tastes
to him.
blood.
Okay.
And then it's like
Okay, I haven't read that part for several weeks, so it's kind of dim in my mind. But I remember reading it and being like, "What?"
I do think the cause of death though is one of the leaves that Agilus throws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agilus clearly has done this before.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Agilus
Oh, yeah.
knows how to fight with the Avern.
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole way they get all their
It's
shit.
Agilus that
Yeah.
has like this whole suit of armor on, so he's just like,
Yeah, he's
"Ooh, I'm just
Dimarchi,
a
I mean.
Centurion."
do you think that Agia gave him correct information? I feel like she did give him correct information about how to deal with the Avern.
Yeah, she gave him.
She
decent
didn't like
knowledge,
she
yeah.
didn't like fuck him up or anything.
I think she was
guess-
confident that you can't deal with something from another universe.
Yeah, that
But-
she was just like, this is so fucked up.
We don't
It's
really-
like, and she's right.
And she, I mean, she
right.
even was upfront about it. She's like, "You're gonna die."
Yeah, and she's
Well,
right.
yeah, it's good. You know, if you
She's-
want someone to die, it's good to tell them like you have no chance. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be all nervous.
And she's
and weird.
correct
Or
that
you'll
he
be like
doesn't know.
overcompensating,
Yeah,
like,
you
I'm
know,
not gonna
like-
fucking die.
Yeah.
I can handle that flow.
He doesn't know how to deal with the
It's just a
Avern.
fucking
Like
plan.
it does happen,
From
but
He doesn't even know what it
they're
is.
foiled by the
Closer to
fact
me
that
than I
he's Jesus. And
That's what
comes
Connor
back to
said
the
earlier.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Her
I was
plan worked
referencing.
until he
I was
was
referencing
Jesus
Connor.
Christ.
And it's why she becomes his nemesis for the rest of the series. Because you cheated me out of this. Like,
Yeah.
you walked around, the capitalist argument of like, you cannot walk around with an
With
expensive
something
thing and not
know
sell
how
it to
much-
people.
And not know how
Yeah.
much it's worth and not sell it.
Right.
For
Like you
any
owe,
price.
as a capitalist, you owe it to sell that to us, and then as a living being, when we kill you, you should die.
Yeah.
And like that's why she wants to kill him and hires
Ether.
Hethor for the rest of the book.
I mean, that's America, isn't it?
Totally.
If you don't sell me your shit, you gotta die and you gotta stay dead, and then I can move on and buy.
I was
if-
this
if
is
you immediately come back to
epitomized in
Is
the
that
whole
so much to ask?
the Yankee Cowboy War between Nelson Rockefeller and Howard Hughes, where Howard Hughes built TWA to be this fantastic revolutionary, and I'm going to sound like a libertarian right now, this
Yeah,
fantastic revolutionary airplane company, and then Nelson Rockefeller was like, I'll lend you $12 million. And Howard Hughes was like, I'm fucking rich, I don't need your $12 million. And Nelson Rockefeller was like, are you sure you don't
Imagine
want
not needing
me
$12
to
million.
loan you $12 million? And Howard Hughes was like, yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? And then Nelson Rockefeller sued him and was able to prove that he was not being responsible to the shareholders of TWA if he didn't take this this loan that he didn't need, Nelson Rockefeller won.
Whoa,
Howard Hughes lost TWA.
that's an insane story.
Yeah.
Is that why he like stayed inside with Kleenex boxes on his feet?
No, he was already doing that, and that was part of what was made the case crumble. It's like, you're crazy.
Maybe that's what they're doing to Elon Musk right now.
No.
I would imagine that
He's doing
somebody
it to
is trying to
himself.
do that to Elon Musk.
He's an idiot.
I mean, maybe there's somebody like worm tongue.
It's a good It's a good parallel.
Is
to look
it
at.
Grimes?
It's like.
Oh yeah, he dates Grimes.
No, not anymore. They're
No,
done.
not anymore. But she's definitely in there feeding him acid.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And then he was tweeting on acid.
Was he?
Yeah, that was like one of the things why the board removed him from being in charge of Tesla.
Oh really? I didn't know that had happened.
Yeah, he promised on Twitter that he would sell Tesla shares at $4.20 a share.
Yeah.
And that's why he got invested.
And Azalea Banks like outed him for tweeting while he was tripping, and that was a thing that they used.
Oh well, fuck you, Azalea.
I mean, what's she gonna
No.
do? She
What?
like
Take it
I
back.
think that he should be allowed to trip.
He should be allowed to trip.
But they should be separate.
Yeah.
he should keep it
At
off
that
Twitter.
level, it should. What?
He just
Why?
fucking sucks. He should be investigated.
well, he did.
He's
he
doing
did, like,
something.
Because it's
some shit gnarly tweets. I mean,
Tesla's
whatever.
out.
what did he
hideous
say?
peoples.
The whole thing with that, he's like under investigation now, majorly because of this whole.
I mean, he's like
stock
a classic megalomaniac, like innovator who's just like having ideas and like tweeting them out like this is gonna change shit when it's just like some shit popping right off.
And
of
then
his
he's
brain.
gonna use like the people who are like slaving away at their actual jobs. So like, oh, just create my vision. Like I had this idea, do this thing. Like he's just a venture capitalist, right? He's not actually a scientist.
I hate the way his name sounds.
I hate everything
Musk,
about
you
it.
don't like the word
Elon
Musk.
Musk. I hate
Musk.
Well, but then, what about Egon Spangler?
Love him.
Totally different.
Not too
fucking
good either.
sound.
Totally different.
Don't like that one too much either.
You don't like
Damn.
Don't like that one too much
That's
either.
right.
But I hate Elon Musk.
it.
The name.
And the man.
And the
But the
man.
man
When
is
I was in-
wonderful.
When I was in school,
Making a lot of enemies on this
if
stream.
anybody had like
Yeah,
a
Elon,
three-syllable
it's on
name,
site.
you always said their last name. If somebody had two-syllable full, like if their first name, like Jeff Betts was always Jeff Betts, but if they had a three-syllable name, it was the same thing. Peter Koo was always
Jen
Peter Koo.
Kirby.
Jen Kirby.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I feel like people with three-syllable names, like you
What
just-
is-
It's true. It
Tim
is.
Potter.
So
Their
it
full
is
But
true.
people like to say my full name.
Jordan Carr.
That's true. That's 4.
Connor Kaiser rhymes.
I don't.
Connor.
Does it rhyme?
There's only
I don't
one
understand what's
Connor.
happening.
Yeah.
Connor. No, it has.
Connor.
It's,
Connor Kaiser
I
rhymes.
also
it's an
don't think-
alliteration.
I also-
Connor Kaiser.
I also
Oh, it's
don't.
alliterative and it rhymes.
I
Jordan
also
Carr, you
don't
would say
think
Jordan.
that people
Yeah.
refer to
Oh,
you as
yeah, but
Connor
you're the only
Kaiser
Jordan, isn't it?
as
You would
often
say
as they
Jordan.
refer to
I
me.
would
No,
say
because
Jen
you're
Kirby.
not.
I think
Because there used to be
people
other
do.
I think that you'd be
people
surprised.
do.
Yeah.
No, but I'm talking
Not
about
the
when
only
people
Jordan.
refer
Who's
to
the other
you
Jordan?
in
Jordan Casey.
conversation.
There was Jordan Casey,
Some people
Jordan
just
Bernier.
say
I don't think
Connor.
I've
Not
ever
Jordan
been
Bernier,
referred to
yeah.
as anything
Yeah.
but Jen
Oh, well, I
Kirby
mean, Jordan
or-
Bernier.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Jordan
like
Carr.
Well,
It's like
Jen's a more
almost
common name. I also
But
find
Jordan
that
Carr,
the
that's
more
just-
you know me, the less you refer to me as Connor
That's what I
Kaiser.
would
But
say.
my
any
full
person
name
who's
is
just found
Jordan
out about my name for the first 4 months
Oh,
will
yeah,
Well, I'm
always
gonna
say
tell it to you
Dylan.
like this.
Well, Jordan-
My sister
Jordan-
calls me Jen Kirby.
Really? Oh, yeah.
I'd like
There
to
you
see
go.
you get something better.
I didn't even know that you
My
have a sister.
sister
You have a
calls
brother,
me
not a
Jen
sister.
Kirby.
She talks about her sister all the time.
No, she talks about brother.
Sister, your sister lives in Germany. Isn't a. she's
Oh wait, I
a
did know
violinist.
that, didn't I?
She's a violist.
She's a violist. There you go.
I
It's close.
barely know Mark. too.
And I know all kinds of shit about Jen's sister.
I don't pay
Wait,
attention
why?
to siblings. I don't understand
You,
siblings.
yeah, never mind.
Wait,
No,
why?
let's-
Why do you know her sister? I'm sorry.
She just has like
You have
Connor's just like
cousins?
Connor was
I
already
never
like-
knew you had a sister. I'm like she talks about her sister all the time.
He has a perfect memory.
I've never.
Wait, cousins?
I feel like
What?
I've never
You have
heard you talk
cousins?
about your sister.
Yeah, I
so-
do.
How many?
Oh,
All right,
no.
all right,
Is there-
all right.
is
On my father's
my
side, I have
memory is
innumerable
faulty.
cousins that I don't
Actually,
know
I've
who
been
are
talking about
all
my
like
therapist.
Okay, so
50
I've been
and
talking to my
above.
therapist about
No
memory.
shit.
Yeah,
No
my
way.
father was the youngest of 7
No fucking way.
and had me when I was kind of young.
Uh-huh.
Which I was as young as I could possibly
How
be.
young were
But
you?
he was kind of old.
He had me when I was young.
But so on my mom's side, there's 3 girl cousins and 2 boy cousins.
Okay.
Oh my god, I have so many.
I
have
have
a
30
cousin, too.
cousins. I have a minimum of 30
I
cousins.
I'll sit down and count mine one day.
All
Same.
My grandfather had 8 siblings. So
I-
it was like
You guys were
They
all
also,
close?
all of them stayed up at home, and I'm the only one who really left.
You guys, we only have like 5 pages in.
Alright, let's do
Yeah, but they're pages that are
5 pages.
chock full of shit that they're gonna
Guys,
send us
I wanna-
spinning off into other zones.
I want to reiterate.
We are so close to
I
the
want
end
to
of this book.
reiterate that this is one of the most wonderful editions of my life. Of the past 6 months.
I agree.
It's a very
It's a
wonderful
very
thing
like
to have here.
well curated.
It is.
Good. And we
I
keep
agree.
it together.
No, it's good, and everyone shows
I
up
don't
to
know
every
if we
meeting.
keep it together.
We keep it.
Yeah.
And nobody's faking like they read and they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you wouldn't be
could.
able to bullshit your way.
Well, I just wouldn't. Why would you come?
admirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
No,
like
we're
if
all
you ever
here because we want
Because you
to.
have a
must be
crush on
hell.
one of us.
You're just
No, that's them. That's the viewer.
I mean, it's supposed to be. That we keep it that way.
I like that mysterious.
And we have to keep the crushes. The crushes are a mystery.
I find
At all
that the thing, my like discipline is that I stop at the end of this section, which I
Yeah.
never.
We
I
are so
always
close
want to not do that,
the end
but
of this book.
But I do because I want to like focus my energy.
We're
on
almost
the
to the
second.
You're probably
We are
reading
almost
other
at the end of
stuff
this
too,
book.
right?
Yeah.
Right
I
now.
kept reading.
Oh, with
because
me,
I was-
I'm like, oh, I got
Yours
stuff to
just
read.
this one.
I'll read like 4 or
Yeah,
5
I will.
chapters beyond and then
I
go
think
back
I have this one
again.
too. I should go.
Is
And,
your
like,
next?
read
Do
the
you
beginning
have
I
of the
keep
last
thinking
section.
about doing
of
that,
the
but
club?
then I just
Okay.
ultimately-
Like tomorrow, I'm probably gonna read everything we read up to, and
Yeah.
then 2 or 3 weeks are gonna go by, and I won't read it, and then like the day before, which is exactly what happened today, I'll like reread like some of it. That's what happened, and so like now it's like a little bit foggy in
That's
my
why
mind.
I don't like. That's
This
what
chapter-
I'm saying. Like I'm trying to like focus on the section.
Yeah.
And have the section.
I was
Yeah.
reading on the bus the other day. I was so focused on it that I missed my stop.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I
was
love
just like-
that.
Yeah, it was like it was. Yeah, I
I've
got
done
particularly wrapped up in the part where he's talking about Dorcas picking the hyacinth, and then I was just like, what is going on? And then I looked up and I'm like, oh shit, I was supposed to get off the bus like 10 minutes ago.
That's great.
There's some code, supposedly, there's some code to the flowers that Dorcas wears.
Ooh.
And it, like, she when she changes flowers,
Well, like the
there's
language
a new
of flowers
phase of her
kind of thing.
understanding.
Oh, like the Victorian shit.
Yeah. Is it like
I don't
that,
know if
or
it
is
follows the language of the flowers.
Well,
and I
let's-
haven't read too much
Let
about
me see
it.
what the Victorians say about hyacinth.
So
Hyacinth is clearly very important to Gene Wolfe. He names a whole
Yeah.
character, that major character that.
yeah.
Like-
Flowers in general are important to Gene Wolfe.
The character that becomes the avatar of love.
Yeah.
Is that the sangria?
I would also argue that
We keep thrown
most
away.
everything. is.
We poured the box of wine from my bag.
Yeah,
Do I
don't.
have to do both?
Yeah.
That is.
Just get the box.
Ryan, if you want to drink that, you can.
No, Connor. No.
Ryan can do it if he wants to.
Ryan.
Cinder block? Can I put it on the
Ryan.
cinder block?
Yeah.
Yeah, go put it on
Go
the
put it
cinder
back in the
block.
cinder
And then
block.
pour yourself a glass if
And
you
we'll
want.
throw it away later. Go.
I'll put
Well-
it right here next to the fog juice.
Get a close up of the
Wait a minute.
Get a
So,
close up of the sangria.
as far as we know,
We will.
does
Look,
any
it's gone
other?
green.
went terribly.
That'll be a great memory because we're just putting
Wait,
it in the
wait,
fucking
wait,
Yeah,
trash.
Mark, I
Wait.
think
It's
At
not
least
working.
one person.
Yeah, sorry,
So,
Ronnie,
as far as we know, do other
Yeah,
cultures
it only works
have
in
like
this direction.
flower
Boy, that
meanings
sangria
besides the
looks great.
Victorians?
I'm sure.
Well, let's just the origin. Legend has it the origin of the hyacinth, the highly fragrant bell-shaped flower.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You have more?
I purchased one.
Oh wow.
I haven't
I
had
never
Green Ball.
drank box wine.
Oh, it's
yeah,
free.
this is club.
Really?
Is this Costco? Not
It
consistently.
is not
It's
Costco.
better than
Costco does
normal
not sell wine in this state.
Really?
I
Oh,
can only
yeah.
for Ginny's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bummer,
just
yeah.
drank it.
Other states,
drink
though,
beer?
yeah.
In Pennsylvania?
Yes, yeah.
I really
No,
don't
no.
know. They have
Pennsylvania
either.
is Pennsylvania is more strict.
I
than
feel
New
that
York,
beer
it's
is a
fine.
waste of
You
time.
let it in the liquor store?
So
New
it
York
has
yeah.
So
Well,
the
they're separated
hyacinth
from wine and beer and spirits.
myth has something to do with the sun.
Shit. Which
Interesting.
one? New, long, or short?
Apollo, sun god, Zephyr, the god of the west wind, adored Hyacinthos and competed for his attention. While Apollo was teaching Hyacinthos the art of throwing the discus, Zephyr, in a jealous rage, blew the discus back, killing Hyacinthos with a strike to the head, and Apollo named the flower that grew from Hyacinthos' blood the hyacinth.
Wow. That's an intense way to get a
That
flower
seems
name
cool.
out.
So he would.
I don't know. I don't know if
Something
that's
important
any...
thing to do with a flower.
I don't know.
So Hyacinth is loved by the sun. I mean, Apollo's the sun.
Well,
but
so
the
this
fact-
is
but
going to be
like-
annoying to everybody, but no,
but
he's
Apollo-
not. Apollo is light. And
Apollo
Helios is the
kills.
son.
That he's got a point.
What's Hyperion?
That's a
Hyperion is the father of Helios.
It's interesting that he loves
Oh.
the hyacinth and kills the hyacinth,
right.
right? Like he doesn't kill the
Well,
the other suitor.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Zephyr can't kill Apollo.
Apollo uses the hyacinth against.
There's Apollo's teaching Hyacinth discus, and Zephyr's like, "Fuck that, dude!" And
Oh,
like
yeah.
throws the discus back at Hyacinth. But-
Because the only way that he can do anything is by the wind.
right, and also I mean, Zephyr would never be able to triumph over Apollo,
Of course.
so he can just kill the thing Apollo likes. Is like the best he could do.
A Zephyr is a gentle breeze.
It's also sung by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, Hyperion is Helios's dad.
Not a great song by the Chili Peppers.
So I don't know. I don't know if the hyacinth has any.
Yeah, there are worse things.
Oh wait, that's not even what I was just looking up what the Victorians thought about that.
Yeah, I don't.
I got off track.
I want to talk more about the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Go. Okay.
I wrote a whole article about the Chili Peppers being too Apollonian, but they'd gone from Dionysian to Apollonian, and they needed to go from Dionysian to Hermeticid.
Yeah.
It makes no sense for them to be Apollonian. That's why they just don't have the thing. They don't have the spark anymore.
Apollo's got to die right now.
And what they need to do is go Hermes, the other brother.
So the blue.
This is a band you listened to a lot as a child.
The
Chili
blue
Peppers?
hyacinth is
And now, as an
sincerity.
adult.
Is what?
But that's
The
why it
blue
matters to me.
hyacinth, which he specifically talks
you listen
about,
to them?
is sincerity.
They're very archetypal.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, that
There's
makes
different
sense.
They're like a
hyacinths.
very serious.
The Nenefars are
cultural
also blue,
presence of
right?
it.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
Yeah.
Chris Rock also loves
They
it.
were around
And
when I was a little kid.
jealousy
I
is the yellow,
under the
and
bridge,
purple is
like,
sorrow.
Fourth graders were like losing
But
their shit
blue
over
is
that.
sincerity.
I never got into it.
And I think
but
I remember
Another crazy thing is
specifically
they played a show.
taking
less
note
than a
of
block
what
away from
color
from here.
Yeah.
the hyacinth
This
was, and it was
weird-ass
blue.
garage
I think colors are very
next
important
to
in
the
this
Yes.
story.
gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Especially when you
super
consider
old-timer
they
came
have
to a
an
couple of times
Is that in
orange
this
about all
section?
and not yellow
the
sun.
music that used to be around here.
Yeah,
It was like, and I knew there was all this jazz at the club.
The hyacinth, is that in this
There's
section
like
that we
that
Yeah.
building right there. was
When
like, that
Yeah,
was
that's
where
how-
the
that's started.
touring rock bands. played.
It's
Like,
further back.
Which building are you talking about?
You know the gas station?
When they're in the
Okay,
boat.
so if you're facing
It's at the beginning of a chapter.
Okay.
building on the left.
Yeah.
of the
Oh.
gas station.
Oh wait a minute.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
white
yeah,
Yeah,
hyacinth.
he said he
That
saw
was
chili
handy.
peppers there.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean it was like definitely like way pre.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
You know, funky.
We're not talking about the book
uplift
anymore.
I'm lost. I can't
I'm leaving
I
in
can't
20
focus on
minutes,
anything.
so whatever happens.
I'm just gonna drink
Just
more
let me-
wine.
That makes as much
I allotted
sense as
3 hours
seeing
for this meeting.
Future Islands and
Totally
the
fine.
copycat,
Wait.
you know, like,
So, where did
You think?
we've talked? I guess we've talked about a lot of the.
Yeah. All we haven't gotten to is
Just Carnifex, right? That
yeah the,
we
the
read
part where he's like
up
in
to
the
actually.
weird military barracks. Or
Yeah, which is awesome. Like that's where is the battle described to him?
Yeah, because then
From
Dorcas
Dorcas?
describes, tells him what happened in the battle.
And then they get upset about a time paradox.
Wait, talked
Yeah.
At the end of it,
where?
What's going on?
they're talking about the note. The woman with you has been here before. Do
Oh,
not trust
yeah.
her. It must have been for me. If it had been for you, it would have been distinguished between Agia and me, probably by hair color. And if it had been meant for Agia, it would have been out of the other side of the table where she would have been, where she would have seen it instead. So you reminded someone of his mother. Yes. Once more, there were tears in her eyes. You're not old enough to have had a child who could have written that note. Time paradox. I don't remember, she said, and she buried her face in the loose folds of the brown
Yeah.
mantle.
Yeah.
Like they're talking about the fact that like Severian pulled her through time because Owen has grown old and she is not because she's been dead
Well, she's been preserved or pickled
Yeah.
in
in the formaldehyde
the
lake
Yeah.
of Avernus.
Formaldehyde. Gross. Such a bad smell.
How does he recognize Dorcas?
He doesn't.
what?
I think that
How
Dorcas knows.
How does Owen recognize Dorcas?
Dorcas knows a lot.
He just says you look like my mom. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if
Pictures?
Yeah.
I thought wasn't there a thing where it doesn't? Isn't there a thing where he has a picture of her or something? Maybe I made that up.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe
But
not.
who has?
Oh, maybe not. Because we
Trudeau?
don't see him again. Owen.
Oh.
I'm thinking of something else. But there could be any number of ways where.
Well, how
why-
else?
Reasons why. He
Actually,
recognized-
like when I was reading, I was trying to remember because I thought how else would he know what she looked like?
Owen must be an old man.
Well, does it?
Yeah.
Sit,
Because in order to have a memory of your mother, you have to be of a certain age in and of itself. You know?
You would have had to have been with your mother for long enough.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
Do
to
we
have made an
actually know
impression.
when? I can't remember if we know the circumstances of her death.
Well, her age seems a little bit suspect too, because like the guy that they meet talks about having. Like,
So he's been
you
there
know,
for
like they
40
ran, Yeah, they
years.
ran a shop for like 4 years together.
They
and-
ran a shop, but he's been dredging for like 40 years, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. But
Jeez.
I'm just like Dorcas. Like, what age do you all think that Dorcas?
Dorcas is likened right now to a 16,
teenager.
18 or 19 is when
Yeah,
they
but
Right,
when
and so-
but when I was in my mid-20s, people thought I was like 15. So it's like
People
She could
thought
be
that
older.
in 2012.
Well, and she also has.
You're not 15?
And she also doesn't
Yeah,
she
I
also
thought you were
have like exalted type blood? Like she has some kind of like noble.
oh,
blood
someone
or
said
whatever.
something
Who,
about
Dorcas?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody
Does
somebody
she? I thought
mentions
she was
that.
small.
What up
No,
with
somebody
this?
mentions that.
She
That
might
they're
be
like
small, but
Hildegren, I think,
Hildegren
mentioned
says
Yeah,
that, like,
that
she-
she's,
she
like,
has a
obviously of
fra-
noble-
frame of
And Hildegren
Yeah.
sees these things too.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
thought that Catherine is where.
No, it's mentioned in this
Hildegren
reading that we
says
just
it about
did.
Dorcas.
He does say something about
Yeah.
how she's like definitely highborn.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which
Yeah, that's true.
How could a tiny person be highborn?
This seems impossible.
Maybe
I
he's
just
just.
don't
I
understand.
mean,
It really comes down to the toes.
also
he might
she
just be
def-
saying that
That
she's
second
hot.
toe is
He
wrong.
might just be being like she's
First
so
one.
hot.
Also, is
or
she
whatever.
definitely tiny?
We don't know that.
I think she's delicate. Is the
Yeah.
thing. We're mistaking that for
Well, I never really always thought of her as like 4 foot tall.
But is
I
she-
don't know why.
But
Yeah.
because
She
he keeps
definitely- like, is there a
describing
reason for
her
that?
as wayfish, but I don't think does he ever say that she's short?
Yeah, no, I think
described
that's the
as-
thing.
she's
is that
described
we've
as
seen,
frail
like,
and young.
We've interpreted
Frail, small bone.
Young,
frailness
white,
for small.
blonde,
I
golden
think also
haired,
Severian,
small.
Severian has a crush on her, and I usually think of people that I have a crush on as being very short.
And you're Severian.
But
and you're Severian.
Definitely,
because
the
you're
first
an
time I
ass.
read this book, I was trying to identify as Severian. For
this is
sure.
bone chilling.
I'm not.
Connor Severian.
But wait,
Fuck you.
but wait.
one
the
takeaway from
question
this
stands-
episode,
or
Connor
the-
Severian.
This what I seem to be coming to now is we don't have an actual
Yeah.
pointed reason to think that she's short.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Hey,
I'm,
Mark.
I'm undecided.
Well,
Nothing pops out in my
I
head.
think
How tall is Dorcas?
I think that the
You can
description
just
Not this
DM
one.
me how
Mark
tall
our
Dorcas
it's
is.
like similar to how he always talks about her as this like tiny little thing that needs to be protected, but she's actually in fact the one who like immediately sizes everything up. She's back from the dead after like 40, 50 years. She's confused, but she immediately sizes up Agia. She knows exactly what's going
Well,
on.
you
So I think
also
she's like a
have-
misdirection, the like descriptions of her, because like Severian never ceases to think that she's someone that needs to be protected, but she's in fact the one who like knows what's going on.
Well, because also, if you think about it, if you woke up not knowing where you were or why you were there,
Yeah.
you would be
You'd be sizing up everything.
you
You'd
would
be-
be like
Yeah.
on fucking edge,
Yeah.
and like noticing everything. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're like, who am I even?
Totally, because you're a baby. Now you're a baby.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have an animal instinct about you.
Although
Yeah.
you have
That's a
these,
very
like-
good point. I never thought about
Although
that.
she obviously does have memories from her old life.
It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome when she does the thing where she's like, yeah, I was like getting kind of horny, but like I don't remember fucking, but I definitely was like thinking about the after the fucking part, so I have done it.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Later on.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Oh, is
Well,
that
she's
next-
working really hard. I feel that Dorcas is always working very hard
Yes.
not to remember what happened before. She does not want
What did it
Dorcas
say?
is
And
definitely.
when she eventually has to, she gets really depressed and runs away.
Yes, she is crazy. She's absolutely like the most interesting.
Yeah,
part
she
of this
is.
book, for sure.
Yeah.
She's my favorite character.
Yeah, she's the most likable one.
Yeah.
For sure.
She's like it's kind of like I've been thinking about Dune and how like
Yeah.
everyone fucking sucks in that book.
Yeah.
Except for like maybe 1 or 2 people.
Miles
3
Tegg?
people. Miles Tegg, Darby O'Grady,
Yeah?
and fucking Duncan Idaho are like the only 3 like
Duncan's
people.
pretty cool.
And then in this it's like it's you know, it's like similar where like everyone's a fucking asshole in these books, and you're like oh, certainly the main character is the protagonist, but he's just like a fucking idiot, like he doesn't know what's going on.
I like Dr. Talos a lot.
Yeah,
think
I mean
he's
there's
pretty
people to
great.
like.
Not a person.
There's people to like.
As
but,
a
like,
character, though.
Right.
you can like people for different reasons.
Yeah, most of the people that I like are pretty big assholes, I guess.
Thanks.
Present company.
I
Emphasize.
think we
No,
can
some of the
all
people
just
here
take
are
that.
assholes.
Yeah.
I think I'm a secret asshole. I consider myself a secret asshole.
Okay.
Or
I
like,
happen to
or
know-
maybe
Sure,
everyone,
Jordan.
or maybe everyone knows.
People
I don't know.
It's easier to
apologize
track
to me
mates
before
when
they
you're an
say what they're gonna say.
Mates.
Probably a bad
So maybe I'm not an asshole. Maybe I'm
Oh. Zing.
What do we have left?
I don't.
That was the thing.
I think that's
the
it.
rest of the book.
It was. It was good.
We technically made it all the way up.
We are very close to the end of this book.
Yeah, we have the same number of chapters and then we're done.
Oh, and then the most confusing thing happens at the end of this book.
Yep.
Where they skip a real
Yeah.
amount of time.
But it's not. Is it not? I
there's
just
like
I get the feeling that crazy stuff is always happening at the gate.
Yeah.
You know why not?
But there's like a full-on battle, isn't there? That we don't see.
I mean, we don't know
later.
what happens.
Oh,
later-
I read a thing on the internet this week about that, and it's
Alright.
and this is an interesting concept too. It's like Severian, who's writing it, is the autarch, right? And
Yeah.
the gate is one of like the mysteries of the autarch's power, or that like keeps the like it's one of the things like people don't know how it works. They're like people don't know what the fuck's going on in there. And
Really?
It's like
Whoa.
and
Oh.
he doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't want to let his secret.
Remember
It'd be
in
a security-
Claw?
Because he has those secret dog people?
In Claw, they
Yeah.
talk about people, like things that live inside the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Those weird dog people.
It would be
Yeah.
like when Kanye was photographed opening his phone, and everyone
Yeah.
found out that his password to open his phone was 00000.
Yeah.
He did it while he
At
was
the-
talking to the president.
Another idiot.
That's the best part of that story.
Let me
He did
show
it
you something
on
on my
camera in the Oval Office.
I don't
And then he
see how that
like
could
directs
not be
it
his
in front
password.
of the camera and hits 000.
Yeah. It's either 4 or 5 zeros. Is the only thing that his password.
I mean, I also have an easy to remember password.
I just thought that would be an interesting.
I
I thought that
have
was
one.
an interesting theory. That
I
like
think that's
he doesn't
cool.
want to
That-
give away his security
I like
information.
that.
That is
Yeah,
interesting.
that totally makes sense.
Yeah, that's really great.
I'm into that.
I was down. I was like,
Yeah, but it's still
There's a lot
cheap
of
as
nerds.
Severian.
I mean, you could use that as like an argument for almost any omission that he.
Maybe.
Well, that's the
it
thing.
was. There was another example.
Yeah, but come on. If your plan is I'm going to write a book, I don't want anybody to know what's in it, but I'm going to throw it into a black fucking hole, and it's going to go into the past. We don't care.
well,
That's true.
think about how like
It would just be second nature to him to be like, well, there's no reason to talk about that. It can only do bad to talk about that.
where's the line that we draw of like how much of this is just utter fabrication?
I think that it really happened, and that Gene Wolfe translated something that came to him from the future.
So like, but I'm saying like,
I don't think that's the
okay,
question she was asking.
That is
We're
exactly what she was asking.
we're like
Well, it's a novel.
deciding
It's all fabricated, technically.
None of it's
everyone's related. Everyone who's mentioned has like a distinct purpose that isn't just a throwaway, a person that you just happen across. Like, where do we draw the line? Where like between lie and what is interesting, or like what is he leaving out? What is he actually just like misrepresenting?
That's
there
what's
has to be
that's
a
what's
line.
great about the book is it can be as much as you want. I think it's up to you, the reader.
Well,
That's
in,
what I think.
Another
I
book
don't-
is like that, Welcome to Funhouse by John Ball, where he says, for whom is the funhouse fun?
Oh, whoa, that's cool. We've never brought up Barth in
Yeah.
here before, but it's totally
Get a little
like
Barthy.
I've never
Hans-
read him.
Yeah, it's
what's
fun.
that guy's deal?
He's from Baltimore.
Well,
Oh, no
he taught
shit.
at Hopkins for a very long time. He grew up on the Eastern Shore. He
Hopkins
has a
loved his
nonfiction book
documentary.
about blue crabs. He has a book called The Development, which is short fiction stories about a development on the Eastern Shore, which is excellent. The Floating Opera is about a woman who's a professor at Hopkins who has an abortion, which was one of the first books that concerned that. But really, The Fun House is his best book. And The Saltweed Factory.
Have you read Saltweed?
Yes, I have read The Saltweed Factory.
You don't think that's his best book?
The Sailor?
I think it's the second best book. But I love it very much, and I read it like every 3 years to make sure I'm still getting lost.
My very
all the
favorite
time.
thing is like niche arguments that I don't understand.
John,
I haven't
because there's
copy of
two Rolling Stones.
I'll bring it in next time.
He's one of my very most favorites. He's so good.
That reminds me, I want to read books
Six
with you.
Voyages of
I have
Seven.
the fan fiction anthology that me and Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, yes! Not yes!
I wanted to bring it just like
Remind me for next time.
Oh, I want to bring everyone the novella I wrote, like Shaman Eater, because
Are
I
we
feel like
finished?
it's germane.
I think we are.
Yeah.
It seems like we
I
are.
meant to
It's
bring
like
it next
really
week.
just
I'm gonna bring it
had a
next
break there.
I think we're finished.
Everyone's
I
like,
think,
take a
yeah,
look.
we're not going to talk about the last chapter.
We
No, we had.
we
Oh, wait, Jordan has
we
something to
kind
say.
the
of
last chapter of
we
the whole
kind
book.
of did.
No.
Is,
Well,
any,
no, I
is
think we
anyone
got to
else a
the
little
end.
excited whenever they get to the appendix by Gene Wolfe at the end, like a cherry,
Yeah!
like a cherry on top of a
Yes.
sundae?
Yes.
Or like,
It's
so good.
Love the
It's so
appendices.
good.
They're so great.
I remember when I first found the appendix.
So much
and
fun.
I was like, oh boy!
And so you were joking.
Futurity.
You were joking that you thought Gene Wolfe received these transmissions, right? But
All right, two things.
No,
One,
wait,
no, I wasn't joking. And two, if I were, I would never admit it.
here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Absolutely.
I feel like that still
That's true
goes
about
goes
Connor,
back
for
to like
sure.
classical poets though, who would say
That's-
like
I
God
respect
was
Connor
telling
so
them
much for that
the
reason.
poem, like like
Yeah.
God.
Wait
Never.
a minute, you don't think that when a poem is good, you don't think that God is what's telling us the poem?
That's what I am saying.
No, no art is owned by the artist. It is all given to us by God. God is great.
I'm with him.
Really?
Well,
You think
okay,
people,
well-
art originates within people, like
There's-
all by itself?
No
this is-
possible way.
This is why Connor and
I
Ryan only
don't.
like forged
I
poetry.
love this. I love what's happening.
I'm literally with him.
I have made a lot of art, and all of the good stuff was received, and all of the kind of bad stuff was
Shit.
conceived.
Yeah, the bad art comes from humans, and good art comes from God.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think
Yeah. I mean, Kanye was
Okay.
brother.
originally I
Perfect
was saying
example of
that.
this.
that
In
somehow
what-
this
in
got
what way?
In that when he
misconstrued, but
like
We all like
that
being
he
mad.
is inspired,
That's
but he
what I was saying.
mistakes it for it being
Divine
his own creation.
Okay.
He mistakes it for he sees himself as being the author of his ideas, which is so funny when he like goes on radio shows or like does interviews and he like busts out this stuff that everyone knows as if it's a revelation.
Right.
And that's like that's his glitch is that he doesn't like give credit to something bigger than him. He thinks it's all
Then
coming
he's the
from him.
biggest.
I think
You
Will
think that
Smith's
Jordan
kids don't
Peterson
understand
is getting
this either.
messages from God?
Yeah.
Is the-
Yeah.
No, Jordan Peterson is
He's
definitely
gonna
a hack.
die soon.
He's definitely a hack.
I feel like what
Yeah,
Ryan-
what, you think Jordan Peterson is making good art?
Mark
He might be.
Anyway, I like
I
the
don't
book
think
better.
that he is.
He's not making
If
art.
it's
He's
satire,
not making
it
art.
is.
Yeah, if it's satire,
That's
it's
like
art.
satire.
Like,
Maybe he's just
not,
pulling the wool over everybody's eyes.
So like,
He's
I feel
Wow, I
Yeah, he
really
does-
like where
he
this
does
I
is
feel
going.
like
yeah.
I am
Through
but a
all the
vessel
Instagram or whatever
that
the
is just
fuck else
right
you guys talked about,
for
I'm
being taken
totally
into a
down
cult.
because it's end up here.
because I truly believe in the existence of God, but I don't know what that means.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I'm-
That's as far as we can get.
Nobody that
And-
says God and means it means like a thing.
But no, some people
Well-
think that they know.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
West
just
Baptist
think-
Church.
I'm
No,
just,
some mean a God.
I'm just
Yeah.
waiting. I'm just waiting for something to resonate with me, and then
I mean, nobody I want to talk
and
to.
then I'm gonna join. I'm gonna join a fucking cult. I'm gonna give them all my money.
Yeah.
I got the Kool-Aid right here.
I'm gonna.
What do you
No,
think
I
this
get
is?
my life.
Yeah, right?
It's gonna be.
Join us
it's gonna
next
be
week to
so
find out how that goes for
good.
Jordan. Stop
Oh,
stream.
you